Part 333. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3335. The four territory lords were flying in space like this, but no one said a word, making the situation a bit embarrassing and a bit dangerous. Jia Yan looked at the three domain masters. These three guys had been playing with the communicators in their hands. He knew that they were sending signals and so on, so he didn't care so much. When such a big business comes to my door, it seems like I'm here to collect debts. Why bother? I'm really here to do business, okay. Jia Yan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, he is also thinking that his way of acting and speaking should also be changed. If he has developed a domineering way of doing things, he will be fine in this area now. If he encounters a stronger person in the future, or returns to this is also true in the black hole area, as well as in the relatively strong places in the central star field of the Milky Way, which would be a big problem. He doesn't believe that there is no intermediate domain lord in the central star field of the Milky Way. So now I have to preview. If a more powerful domain lord level expert comes later, he will say that he is a little less tough. Otherwise, if he gets used to this way of speaking when he encounters strong people in the future, he will be asking for his own death. Boom. Not long after, a creature about the same size as Jia Yan's body, or should be said, a head bigger than Jia Yan, rushed out from a large prosperous place ahead. Jia Yan's current physical body is actually about the same as that of an average territory lord. On the other hand, other senior territory lords, as long as they are not deliberately shrinking themselves or due to racial issues, are generally bigger than Jia Yan. This friend must have just arrived. How about I guide you and introduce him? This domain lord level existence did not use his brainwave power to give Jia Yan a showdown, because he knew that it would be useless even if he won the brainwave power competition. He is a subspace talent. The existence cannot be compared like this. Unless it is overwhelmingly powerful compared to the opponent's brainwave power, it will be difficult to impress a subspace gifted creature. Oh, it's my honor to have you lead the way. Jia Yan looked at this territory lord, then at the other territory lords around him, and responded calmly. Then, the three territory lords did not leave, but just distanced themselves, keeping hundreds of kilometers away from Jia Yan, allowing the huge territory lord who came to walk alone with Jia Yan. There is no interaction between them, and even if there is, it must be through brainwave power. Jia Yan is not a super boss, so even if he wants to detect brainwave power communication at the same level, it is difficult to do so. Sir, it seems that you are not from our area. Did you travel here from afar? Yes, I traveled here from afar, but my friend was injured, so I came to disturb your distribution center. I wonder if you can get what I wanted before? I really don't have that much time. Running around. Jia Yan said calmly. The huge domain master looked at Jia Yan again, and did not feel any fluctuations in the tone of this subspace talented creature. It seemed that he cared a little about him, but it did not seem to care that much. After all, such a subspace domain master the Lord exists. When I first saw him, I felt that he was quite extraordinary. Originally, this territory lord came to calm down the situation, but here comes such a terrifying subspace territory lord. As the strongest leader of a certain force here, he naturally needs to come forward to meet with the other party. If it would be best to use strength to suppress him and stop him from making unreasonable demands. It is a pity that now it seems that this subspace domain lord is obviously not something he can suppress, and he feels that even if other senior domain lords in this star domain are dispatched together, it seems that they will not be able to suppress him. Live in this subspace talented domain master. Originally, the existence of subspace talents is more difficult to deal with than other talents. The strength of this domain master does not feel weak, so it is natural for him to perform like this. Your Excellency, they must have told you before that there is no way we can do it here, but this method may cost us a lot, so we won't use it easily. The other party had nothing to hide and told him about his difficulties. At least until now, the two sides are relatively equal. Even though this strong man with subspace talents is more difficult for them, they are definitely not afraid of him. If they really want to start a war, they have crossed the river here. A man as strong in numbers as a Crucian Carp is completely unafraid of the subspace talent that exists alone. It's just that when they opened their doors for business, they were afraid of such powerful subspace talents who were difficult to kill. If they really started to cause trouble, the business in their distribution center might suddenly plummet and it would be difficult to recover for hundreds of years. Let's talk about the price. I think if it's appropriate, I'd be willing to make amends. Jia Yan looked at the senior territory lord, then looked at the positions of the other three territory lords around him, and understood. The three domain lords are surrounded. If they really take action, they will delay Jia Yan for a while, so that they have a slight chance to drag a strong man like him to death in this area. It's a pity that what they thought was very good, but all the premise is based on the assumption that Jia Yan is weaker than the senior domain lord in front of him. Jia Yan's actual combat effectiveness, even with a powerful senior domain lord, may not be the same. It's not even close, but for an average senior domain lord, he really doesn't give up. Moreover, as long as he finds an opportunity to enter subspace, he will be the enemy's biggest headache. Fortunately, he didn't want to fight. When the Zerg Queen's forces were still in danger, if he rashly made enemies with other strong men and couldn't obtain healing resources quickly, then he would be a disqualified partner. Are you willing to make amends? The senior domain master read Jia Yan's meaning from Jia Yan's words, looked at him with a hint of friendliness, and then nodded. Actually, it's not that we really want something, but if you want to obtain those materials quickly, the only way is to have the most cutting-edge technology in the central star field of our galaxy. The skill of long-distance teleportation. This skill uses the latest folding technology, which directly uses space folding to send items from extremely distant places. There are many restrictions in this, even if we have used this teleportation method in history. There are not many methods, and they are all used to transfer relatively expensive materials. The things you want, to be honest, the value is not expensive. If it is to be transferred, I feel that the value is not significant, and you are responsible for it. There will be huge losses if materials are transferred. The meaning of what the senior domain master said is very obvious, that is, the materials delivered by Jia Yan are definitely not of that great value. Even if it can save the life of a friend, if the price paid is too high, then it is better to give up. This friend's life has been cured. Anyway, for the strong men in the Interstellar, the only thing worth paying is their own strength. What others, including relatives and friends, get, is almost meaningless in the end. It's better not to pay so much for them. Jia Yan was silent for a moment. He could tell that the necessary price was probably quite high. Even a senior domain master advised him like this. He was afraid that if he really did it, it would drain Jia Yan's current wealth. But when he chewed his friend's words carefully, Jia Yan suddenly laughed. Yes, Jia Yan has indeed been alone most of the time in his life, and he also thinks that he likes to be lonely and is not good at getting along with others. But there is an exception to everything, and even people like him sometimes need friends and family. Even though Jia Yan has reached this point, he doesn't feel that he has lost all his emotions and desires. He often uses his avatars to look at his hometown, and then wakes up avatars everywhere to see old friends and so on. This is his philosophy of life. It's not a contradiction, but he is still a living thing, and living things still need some soul comfort after all. Not to mention, the Zerg Queen had helped him, and he later learned that the Zerg Queen had withstood tremendous pressure to hand over the original star core to him. At that time, he was still a star with an uncertain future. That's all, Queen of the Zerg, if you don't help such a friend who has had such a big influence in my life, I will definitely regret it in the future. As for resources, I don't seem to have gotten so much without much effort. At worst, I will find opportunities in the future. Go grab it again, but, just go collect it and come back. Suddenly, Jia Yan was relieved. His resources were not obtained with much hard work, but after intimidating a few forces, he became able to get so much. Friend, I will bear the price you mentioned. Have you seen this planet in subspace? It is full of supplies. I must have enough. Jia Yan said firmly. The senior domain master was startled, and then used his brainwave power to look at the subspace. Inside the subspace, Edish's star seemed to understand Jia Yan's meaning, and opened up the power to block the brainwave power, and the mist became less dense, revealing a large amount of materials that were still being transferred inside. Supplies for an entire planet? And many of them are mid to high level, Gudu. The senior domain master was slightly shocked. He looked at Jia Yan again and realized that the guy next to him was probably more difficult to deal with than he thought. You know, under normal circumstances, even a senior domain lord like him cannot have such a huge amount of supplies, because even if they are senior domain lords, if they want to obtain supplies, they will usually use normal methods, and most of them will. It is also a high-grade material. It is not that they look down on ordinary materials, but it is too difficult to carry. But the existence of subspace talents around here is good. There are a lot of medium-sized materials in them, and they are so dazzling that it is hard to see what he is collecting them for. So the only explanation is one reason: this guy must have robbed forces, and judging from the variety inside, it seems that there are more than one force. Damn it, this guy is a very ruthless person. Next, you must make it clear to the people below and don't offend him. Otherwise, such a subspace domain lord who is robbing forces will also cause trouble here, with his familiarity. With the way of looting, I am afraid that this distribution center will encounter a major crisis rarely seen since its establishment. Well, Your Excellency, being your friend is really a blessing. In today's era, there are not many people who are willing to go out of their way for their friends. So we will try our best to help you. Let's use super. How about I only charge you for the teleportation? There must be a little bit of resources left on your planet. The strong man just took a cursory look and found that Jia Yan's mid to high level resources on the planet on the surface of Edessa were enough to provide super teleportation. It's just that he asked for more things. The super teleportation must be opened and connected in several places, otherwise there would be more points left. No problem. Jia Yan waved his hands, feeling a little happy inside. Because obviously, when the other party sees so many supplies, he thinks they are all his, but in fact, where is this? Most of his supplies, especially the valuable ones, have long been moved underground. So happy to work together. A pleasure to work with. The two parties reached a deal, which not only made Jia Yan happy, but also the nearby domain lords let out a long sigh of relief. They are quite afraid that Jia Yan will really fall out with them. If the subspace domain lord is not caught in the fight, they will. Their strength cannot match the opponent's domain lord, and they will probably become the target of a sneak attack. After all, this is a subspace talent that comes and goes without a trace, and it is really difficult to escape from being targeted by it. Fortunately, the senior domain master successfully negotiated with Jia Yan, and their crisis was resolved. Friend, we don't know your name yet. My surname is Jia, you can just call me Jia Yan. It turns out to be Brother Jia. Come on, let me guide you to the designated place to complete the transaction. The three domain lords relaxed their vigilance and gathered around him, and began to pay attention to Jia Yan. Now that the content of the transaction has been roughly completed, they also believe that such a strong man should not go back on his promise. Moreover, even if he goes back on his word, there is also a senior domain lord present. If he gets close to them, he is also a domain lord level. Probably killed in one hit. After a while, Jia Yan got along with these three domain masters who were relatively good at talking. After all, one party intends to make acquaintance, and the other party wants to complete the transaction. The relationship will naturally turn into good friends quickly. If this transaction is successfully completed, it's not that I won't be able to conduct more transactions with your region in the future, but I don't know if your region will still welcome me. I see a few friends who don't seem to be so impressed by my arrival. Like it? Jia Yan chuckled. A territory lord quickly shook his head. What are you talking about? Your Excellency Jia Yan, our previous behavior was not that we did not welcome you, but that you are a subspace territory lord, and your strength is too amazing. We are somewhat normal. It's normal to be vigilant, right? If we have a trading relationship with you and establish trust, things will naturally change. We welcome high-level people like you to do business with us. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3336. Unlike their hypocritical conditions, we are truly willing to share many resources and information with you. Even this island, if your Chamber of Commerce is willing to take over, after driving them away, we are willing to take over the nominal jurisdiction. The power is left to you. Of course, if we need this place to act as a strategic buffer zone in the future, your Chamber of Commerce will do its best to cooperate with our actions. Jia Yan weighed the pros and cons again. These two families are louder than the other. However, Jia Yan knew that without certain abilities, the other party would not dare to open his mouth like this, let alone have such a domineering attitude. He had planned to swing between the two families, but now it suits me. I don't know the strength comparison between you and the other two parties, and I don't know the reason why you are waiting for the fight. I will not agree to this hastily. Besides, our president has already said that our Chamber of Commerce has no intention of getting involved in the Imperial Islands. Otherwise, why not take advantage of the dynasty's internal and external troubles to take action? The person on the other side just looked at Jia Yan blankly. The disbelief in his eyes was obvious. Jia Yan also knew that there was no point in pretending. Although the dynasty was in decay, it would not be easy for the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce to take it down. And even if they were taken down, as he knew before, they were also visitors from outside the world. Even the world was different. They wanted to rule such a big country. It is not that easy to get the territory. Maybe it will be a hassle and a thankless task to get it. When the entire dynasty area calms down, maybe thousands of years have passed, and even the space channels have become unstable again. Then there is an egg for use. But on the surface, it was impossible for him to admit this. Our two forces are the two major galactic forces in the outside world, and the Lord I belong to is the most watched new powerhouse in the two major galaxies. He is on his way to the top, and not only is he his own strength, and more importantly, the power he can control, is beyond imagination. For example, this Dynasty Island, believe it or not, if the big man behind me is willing, he can dispatch more than 50 masters in a minute. Super masters came to eradicate everything in the dynasty. What power does this dynasty have to resist 50 masters? What's more, there are other powers controlled by the man behind my family, such as the technological power that you are also using, which is even far beyond yours. Such technological power as ours, these are all manifestations of the strength behind us. 50 guru level? Are those the 50 lower level domain lords? When Jia Yan heard this, a trace of surprise appeared in the giant mosquito's eyes. The power of 50 lower level domain lords is terrifying. It is indeed a shocking strength that cannot be ignored. Just imagine, if any force in the Milky Way had 50 lower level domain lords, aside from the mighty ones like the Supreme Being, they would probably be able to run rampant throughout the Milky Way, destroying any company that didn't go their way, without anyone dare to interrupt. It is indeed an extremely powerful force, but I also want to ask, what level has the person behind your family reached? Our galaxy describes masters as masters and divides them into levels of powerful people on the heavenly path. The highest level is the 99th level. On the heavenly road, you will go directly to the Guru. I want to know how many steps the person behind your home has walked. Jia Yan asked intently. Throughout the universe, there are different levels of expression to describe masters, but they are mostly the same. The person on the other side was silent for a moment and then said, "It's about 88 or 9 steps, but the last dozen or so steps are the most difficult to cross. You don't know until you get to that step. It's not just about personal will and determination, something that can be overcome with effort." 88 or 9 steps. It was both within my expectations and somewhat beyond my expectations. At the 88th step, Jia Yan thought that it would be easy to defeat him, but with his subspace ability, he should have a chance to escape, and there was a huge chance in the other world. But it is indeed stronger than imagined. Give me your specific conditions. If I accept them, I will be a friend and comrade in the future. Jia Yan suddenly laughed. He decided to fall in favor of one of the two families, but he had to be a swinger to get the benefits of both sides. From various signs. Look, both families have concerns about him, so he can do such things very calmly. Secondly, one thing is certain, that is, it is impossible for them to kill them with a stick because of their own strength. Otherwise, wouldn't it be nice to have a top expert kill them with one blow? Of course, there is a certain possibility that there are too many existences like me around. It is unrealistic to kill them one by one, and it is also easy to cause other similar existences to gang up. Jia Yan made a rational analysis. In short, he needed to be careful in the current situation. The 80-step road to heaven is not as scary as he thought, but the difference between the road and the road to heaven is a huge difference. It may really kill him, so he can't wander. If he wanders, it will easily lead to problems. Soaring into the sky, he headed back towards Xiancheng. As soon as he returned to Xiancheng, a subordinate came to report happily. It turned out that there was good news from the trade area. His son Jiarong finally broke through to the semi-stellar level and became the first master among the nominal citizens of the entire Earth to break through this level. It doesn't matter whether his bloodline is from Earth. In name, his genes still contain part of Earth's genes, and with a similar appearance, who can't say he is from Earth? Very good, this boy has finally got what he wanted. Jiarong's goal is to reach the star level throughout his life, and even beyond. Although his current superficial strength has initially reached the semi-star level, the strength of a formation practitioner cannot be judged by the surface, so his current strength can probably advance if you reach the mid to lower half-star level after a period of hard work. Then fighting against the star level is really not a problem. The problem of slow update of new chapters has finally been solved with an app that can change sources. Download the Spuin Source Change app here and view the latest chapters of this book on multiple sites at the same time. So, the child's dream has come true, and Jia Yan is really happy for him. My grandchildren seem to be practicing well, but I don't care so much about their relationship. There was other good news a few days ago, such as grandchildren and even their descendants starting to practice cultivation. Unfortunately, Jia Yan seemed to have no trouble with this and viewed it with a rather indifferent mood. He just sent people to give him gifts. Done. Maybe he is such a cold-blooded creature. But there are more reasons that can probably be understood. As a single-minded cultivator, he has reached the limit of caring for 2 or 3 generations of descendants. Any more will definitely affect his own cultivation. This is understandable to anyone, and it is even considered good for him to be like this. Many strong people just give birth to offspring and ignore them. Give that boy my newly made array weapon. Since he wants to compete with the stellar class, I will help him achieve this goal as soon as possible. I'll send it over right away. A small figure walked out of the darkness. It was the clone of the Black God. The Black God clone took the gift box with a smile, nodded and walked out of the office. The presence of the Black God clone has been reduced recently, but this is not a good thing for the Black God clone himself. As a rare clone with the ability to practice independently under his true skills, his strength is stronger than ordinary clones, and at the same time, he also has unlimited possibilities. Today, he has integrated the creation world with himself more harmoniously. In the future, these fusion powers will burst out with extremely powerful combat power. Then, I would like to congratulate you on this property. Congratulations on your promotion. Thank you, Dad. Looking at the magic weapon in formation flag mode in his hand, Jiarong was delighted. Grandpa, you are too biased. My dad has such a good thing, why don't I? Black God Jia Yan stood proudly on the top of a 1,000-story building in the trade district, silently watching the traffic at his feet, then looked back at his dissatisfied grandson, and shook his head. If you can cultivate to half-star level, I will give you something similar, so work hard. Okay, then I'll work hard and I won't go back on my word in the future. Jia 11 geared up. Black God Jia Yan turned around, looked at his children and grandchildren and said, have there been any bad developments in the trade zone in recent days? Jiarong put away the formation flag, only to see that the formation flag turned into a wristband, restraining it on his wrist. He also came to the building, looked at the huge and prosperous city, and sighed, how can I call this trade area? Recently, many new laws and new facilities have been produced. The total population is now dozens of times that of the Earth Alliance. 100 times, it is divided into dozens of large areas, populated by life forms of various sizes. It is impossible to say that there are no problems. Events, big or small, happen every day, but nothing can threaten them. The foundation of the trade zone. Dozens of times and close to 100 times the population of the Earth Alliance, a lot. Not much at all. Jia Yan believes that this is just the officially registered and naturalized population. With the businessmen and migrant workers coming and going, the figure may be far more than 100 times. The definition of interstellar population is not very simple. For example, it is difficult for you to define whether a floating population is your resident. However, there are actually countless hidden dangers in dividing living beings of various sizes. For example, although the sizes are similar, the living habits, culture, history, etc. of various civilizations and races are different, which inevitably leads to contradictions. In fact, many contradictions in the current trade area come from this. For example, if certain ethnic groups have different customs, allowing them to be together will cause huge harm. The trade zone has tried its best to avoid such incidents, but it is very difficult to implement them. New contradictions gradually arise, and the process of handling them leads to more contradictions, creating a vicious cycle. Fortunately, the trade zone has gradually developed and grown. It's not much worse than the population of many civilizations. Back then, this place was still a barren land. Black God Jia Yan looked at the city line extending to the end. This is just a city in a dark screen, and there are several similar cities in this dark screen, connected to each other by huge bridges. A black screen is thousands or even tens of thousands of kilometers long. It is nothing to the life forms in the other world, but when it comes to the Milky Way, it is a quite huge man-made object. It can be filled with countless kinds of structures you want, such as additional installations. Instruments are used to make this place have gravity and air, and can also adjust the temperature, climate, humidity, etc. Of course, countless money is spent on each addition, and more shady things are actually used, as many civilizations used it outside military camps. By using the shady scene like this, the trade zone can be considered epoch-making. Perhaps when the world falls in the future, these shady worlds will be self-contained, and we won't even know what the shady outside world is. Jia Yan had similar associations, but they were too far away from him. At least it was necessary to exist in the trade zone and he was still alive. It would be difficult for such a situation to occur. Flowers bloom and fall, clouds rise and disappear, even the universe has its own time, let alone just a mere civilization. By the way, Senior Edisha also passed me a set of formation techniques through communication a few days ago. This formation technique seems to be combined with a certain training foundation of Yin and Yang Dao, and it is specific to the formation path. It allows people to skip the process of learning Yin and Yang Dao and directly enter the gate of the formation. Dad, you see. Jia Rong suddenly took out a message and handed it to Jia Yan. The Black God clone took it and looked at it for a few times. The extremely powerful mental power allowed him to remember the content instantly. After a moment, he handed the item to his son without any expression, and for a while his expression showed no sadness or joy. Jia Rong looked at his father nervously. He didn't know how he felt when his father had worked so hard to create Onmyeto and formation, but even the basics were modified by Edissa. Maybe you agree, maybe you resist? Black God Jia Yan himself didn't think that much. Edisha did a good job, but for him, this matter really didn't have that many emotional ups and downs. In terms of formation, Jia Yan has long set a definition in his mind, that is, Edisha's ability exceeds his own, at least before he actually develops the body of formation. So true. Jia Yan is happy to see that Edisha can carry forward the formation and even help himself. As for whether she has subverted her own setting, there is really not much to resist. But in the final analysis, even the steps of Yin Yang Dao were skipped, which was really a bit uncomfortable. This shows that those who want to practice the formation Dao don't have to go too far into the Yin and Yang Dao, causing them to lose a lot of new people in the Yin and Yang Dao out of thin air. Yes, but the formation is not perfect yet, and there is a possibility that the enemy will use it for research. You can choose clearly about the inheritance, or you can simply create a closed shady world and specifically place the formation practitioners. By the way, I have some experience in creating worlds here, plus a preliminary draft of shady time acceleration. You can use it to study together and create a shady world of time acceleration. Don't worry, of course, it's best not to have diarrhea. Before there are any real results, let's just let them speed up their research. I understand what you mean. When Jia Rong heard this, his mind suddenly became clear. This method is good. Opening up a manufactured world, although it is fake, can still conduct a certain amount of research. Besides, who says that the created world is not the real world? As long as it is done properly, who says that the living beings in the world will doubt all this? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3337. Should I be a part of it too? Maybe I can create an imaginary world with birds singing and flowers fragrant, and I can live and enjoy it in it. Jia 11 cheered from the side. Black God Jia Yan really didn't think so much. What he wanted was nothing more than the training effect of the new array skills, but it would be good if he could study it together with other new technologies and ideas. So he added a few more requirements, such as the foundation of Onmyeto, plus several of his own ideas and creativity. Jia Rong and Jia 11 also got together, each expressed his or her own opinions, and settled on the general framework. Okay, I'm going back to the other world now. You can operate it yourself. The core things are the ones I gave you. The rest of the small details are up to you. Well, Dad, you should be careful when you go to the other world by yourself. It's been a bit dangerous lately, isn't it? Don't worry, it's just a minor problem. After the Black God Jia Yan comforted the children, he tore open the subspace, ignored the laws in the black curtain, and rushed straight from the subspace to the depths of the subspace. Grandpa's clone is so powerful. How strong should Grandpa be now? Gia 11 sighed. For them, Grandpa's clone is also Grandpa himself, but it is a little different. For example, the Black God Jia Yan, they have dealt with quite a lot, but this clone's personality, thoughts, temper, etc. are all different, which makes everyone have a different impression of him. Worse, maybe even better than Jia Yan's real body. Compared with the inhumane nature of the real body, this Black God clone is gentle and has a similar appearance, so it is naturally more popular. Of course, the unfathomable strength of the Black God clone also made them feel at ease. There is no need to doubt so much. We will never be able to get close to your grandfather's affairs. Why not study and see how to use the information your grandfather gave you to create a time-accelerating world created by a shady plot? It is a good idea, if it is operated properly. Our Geo family can even put some of their descendants into it. After all, time has accelerated, and the process of laying the foundation will also be accelerated. Jiarong found many areas worthy of Jia's operation. Time acceleration is like creating the world. Although the actual effect of acceleration cannot really be faster than external cultivation, and the efficiency may even be lower under the same time conditions due to problems with the laws of the universe, the so-called acceleration can definitely. It's not just about this point. For example, the state of mind after accelerated cultivation, as well as other processes in between, such as eating, drinking, resting and cultivating, may be compressed. Especially for those who have laid the foundation, there may be a lot of improvement. Efficiency is also uncertain. Of course, he needs to go check it out immediately. The strong man from the Bai family who fought with Dad built the creation world in less than a few years. It's not that our Geo family can't afford the money spent. If we invest more, the time may be accelerated. And with technical reference, it will definitely be improved. This method is really feasible. The more Jiarong looked at it, the hotter his heart became. Jia Jiakan has the prestige and status of a very large family, but in fact it is equivalent to a top family in name only, and he does not have many core things in his hands. Within the trade zone, the Geo family only has shares, and the Geo family does not master the core technologies and departments. After all, the Geo family comes from the Earth. The Earth's technology, various technologies, and even management capabilities are far different from other civilizations. No, if the Geo family dares to take over an important department, they dare to shut down that department in a minute. So what they are most anxious about now is how to possess the core and key things that belong only to the Geo family. Today, it seems that this so-called world creation may really be one of them. The technology of the Bai family has been quite mature, and the key researchers also suffered many casualties in that war. In addition, some of them escaped. It is impossible for the Bai family to repeat it again. And Xia, who has mastered this technology, if we improve upon the basics of the Geo family, maybe it will become the foundation of the Geo family in the future. Okay, it's really like setting aside the dark clouds and seeing the bright moon. Jiarong smiled and immediately ordered. The idol family of the Geo family was secretly nicknamed by many middle and lower class people as the top family that lies in the trading area and sucks blood, and soon the whole family started to move. Even though the Geo family is small, all the 7 ants and 8 ants have joined in, so there are already a lot of people. Their actions were also discovered by many middle and high-level officials, but knowing that they were only doing things behind a large shady curtain, they just laughed it off. A piece of starry sky, coupled with a large shady area, seems to have no impact except that the shady area is a bit larger and the Geo family spent their own money and invested a lot of resources in it. It just makes the Geo family less wandering in the trade area. Although they want to take care of everything, they are afraid that these ignorant and incompetent guys will suddenly want to take charge of things. If they interfere, they may get in the way and get in the way. People's behavior of lining their own pockets has been discovered. It's better now. What kind of research does Jianeng turn his energy to? Countless people can breathe a sigh of relief. In this way, the construction of the shady scene was in full swing, and gradually the people of the earth also participated. Later, the formation talents recruited by Jia Yan were also recruited. After this calculation, the personnel investment reached at least tens of thousands, 788 plus workers and so on. The employment problem of millions of people has been solved, and the trade zone doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. In short, it's both laugh and cry. They have done a good job, but how to solve the remaining problems in the future has to be done personally. I can't control it. I am responsible for transferring energy. An ape clone is deep in the trading area, observing the movements of the outside world from time to time. After the ape clone returned last time, it took up residence in the trade area. The stronger the clone, the more it occupies the real body's mental power. In order to preserve energy to deal with possible situations, Jia Yan usually puts these clones in a deep sleep state. The ape clone sitting in the trade area can also respond to emergencies anytime and anywhere. Not every clone has the ability to face the lower level of the territory lord. Buzz. This ape clone also has another important responsibility. That was a strange formation in his hand. This formation is not like an ordinary formation circle, but a blue sphere on which countless formations are superimposed to form a super large energy ball that is about 10 kilometers long. There is a massive amount of formation energy inside, and the superposition of a wide variety of forces makes the energy in this ball extremely terrifying. The ball is not meant to explode. It comes from the energy that those with talent in formations have cultivated over the past few days. They are not strong enough, and Jia Yan's real body cannot come to devour them regularly. He only needs to collect the ape clones and wait for a period of time to send them to the other world in person. Anyway, to the ape clone, this passage through the world is nothing. I hope this power will be useful. I have to take a bigger step here. The memory passed by the Black God's clone a few days ago shows that the movement over there is getting bigger and bigger, and the danger is getting bigger and bigger. If it is true, my physical strength cannot leap forward in a short period of time, and if a dangerous situation occurs, our group of clones will all belch. He was still quite worried about Mommy. After all, if the real body is dead, they will also be wiped out together. This is the relationship between the clone and the real body. Coincidentally, the ape clone is thinking about the real body in the other world, and the real body over there is also thinking about the ape clone. Ape, I don't know when the formation power will be sent over. I have some new ideas here, which may be able to purify the mixed power more thoroughly. Unfortunately, there are no test subjects. Jia Yan was meditating in the dedicated training room in Xiancheng. Recently he has been spending more and more time in retreat. On the one hand, they are waiting for the battle between the two ticket holders, and on the other hand, they want to improve their strength faster. This strength is gradually becoming a bit difficult in the current situation. For ticket holders, after he went to have a long talk with Hai Tian, as well as the insidious information obtained from various Galaxy Chamber of Commerce departments, it can be seen that every time these guys show up, they have a shocking and earth-shattering end. It seems that there are still rumors that a huge event occurred hundreds of thousands of years ago. The war was the most exaggerated. The ticket holders shattered the distant continent, and several fragments drifted nearby, becoming the current dynasty and several island countries. It's a big departure from the Nima. Jia Yan is conceited, and he never thinks that he has the strength to crush the dynasty's homeland. He couldn't even smash the Xiancheng into pieces with one blow. After all, it was an area of several 100 million kilometers in radius. It's like smashing a large area in the Milky Way, including the Sun, Earth, and Mars. This is no longer a myth. Even myths can't do this. Of course, after analysis and calculations, Jia Yan knew that those saboteurs should have surpassed the lower level of domain lords and reached the level of strength of Tai's Hang, otherwise they would not be able to do this. This made him feel more comfortable. He still believed that a powerful man like Tai's Hang could control the entire central star field of the Milky Way and had the ability to crush a continent in the inner world. Of course, it sounds like a myth no matter how you put it. So he desperately wants more strength. Formation path is his most ideal target. The formation power from the ape clone is sent over. I first study the feasibility of swallowing it, and then try to increase the swallowing efficiency as much as possible. As an evolved beast, I shouldn't waste too much energy, and I can convert it into it is common to consume 80% to 90% of the power in a certain period of time, but if I can improve the conversion efficiency to 30%, or even 40% to 50%, the results will be terrifying. This is what Jia Yan wants. Since he had no one to train with for the time being, he thought of another organization in the area, the Soldier King Squad. There are more than 300 members of the King of Soldiers team, and about half have mastered the formation, because most of them were rewarded with genetic adjustments to the formation by Jia Yan. In view of the general environment. For those who don't have a practice partner now, it's also good to ask them to come and practice with you. Of course, you can't make things clear, but try to hide them from others. Therefore, a mission known as Special Reward went to the Earth Soldier King's team fighting on the front line. The King of Soldiers team was in full revelry. I am about to be summoned by Senior Mosquito Ancestor again. You know, in this world, they often see the Mosquito Ancestor, which is rare for people on Earth. This is a living mythical legend. Many people on Earth pay tribute to this immortal monument, but they are happy to see him often. He even often received guidance and rewards from Senior Mosquito Ancestor. There was a new reward today, and instead of going separately, Senior Mosquito Ancestor asked them to go together. In other words, everyone does not have to lick blood on the front line, and can go to the rear to receive rewards and take a vacation. This made the already somewhat tired members of the Earth Soldier King cheer for joy. Not long after, Jia Yan saw this group of soldiers who had retreated from the front line. You've done a good job. I heard that you actually killed a galaxy novice a few days ago. It's all thanks to Senior Mosquito Ancestor's guidance. The King of Soldiers himself stood up with an extremely excited expression. This matter is still your own efforts. Well, I have come to you today for no other reason than to test your formation growth. Secondly, I also want to do some experiments. Of course, there is no danger in the experiments. It just requires you to waste part of your formation power and body power. I wonder if you are willing. Of course it is possible. How could the Bing Wang team doubt Jia Yan? They all agreed without hesitation. They are all good kids. Jia Yan was extremely moved. Then, he sucked harder. Yes, that's it, number 193, add more output power. Yes. More than 300 people found that it was not as easy as they imagined when they returned to the rear. Jia Yan started what he called a trial. After experiencing it, a group of people suddenly felt the power of devouring. There were blue circles of formation light suspended above their heads. There was suction in these circles, which only absorbed their formation power. Jia Yan swallowed it and felt a ray of comfort all over his body. You must know that this is only the squad of 300 soldiers who have entered the formation gate for the first time. If you look carefully, there are only more than 100 people. But it can make a lower-level domain lord like him feel something. What does it mean? It shows that this method is definitely worth trying. The number of people has increased nearly 100 times, and they are still geniuses who specialize in formations. Even their cultivation methods were created to be easier for Jia Yan to absorb. The benefits gained from this are not as simple as the current 100 times. Depending on the situation, it will have at least 300 times the effect. Even when those group of array talents reach a stronger level, their efficiency will be thousands of times or even higher. And the ape side can immediately set off again to recruit new array talents elsewhere. If the number of people increases 10 times, then, it will have tens of thousands of times the effect in front of us. Jia Yan swallowed the saliva in the mouthpiece and felt like his saliva was about to flow out. With that effect, he would be happy. Living a life of devouring the power of formations every day, and the strength is still improving by leaps and bounds, it is absolutely enjoyable. Of course, the expenses for such a number of people will also be a bottomless pit. Most of his income in the trade zone will go into this bottomless pit, and even the interests of the Geo family will be harmed. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3338. However, he believes that the Geo family can understand, and this process cannot be completed instantly. Presumably by the time, the Geo family will also develop new ways to generate income, and they will not need to rely too much on him. Like the world that was created? Come on, Jia Yan thinks that as long as he doesn't drag in too much of his own funds, how can he expect to generate income? Well, Senior Mosquito Ancestor, I can't stand it anymore. Such a strong suction, Senior Mosquito Ancestor, I can't do it anymore, let me rest. When Jia Yan lost his mind and thought about other things, there were already people below who couldn't bear it. All the strength in their bodies disappeared, not even a shred of strength existed. These disappearances are not fundamental disappearances, but if you continue to suck them in, you won't be sure. Okay, you guys have a rest for a while. There are some things to make up for through cultivation over there. Let's digest it and continue. Do you still have to continue? The few people who got up staggered and looked at each other. What kind of experiment is this? Are you trying to suck them dry? Some people slandered in their hearts, but no one dared to say it in front of their faces. They had no choice but to go to the resting place arranged by Jia Yan with many doubts and start practicing and recovering. The strength of the 300 people is not the same, and the degree of persistence is also different. In this way, there is a gap. The ones in front leave and the ones in the front persist, and the ones in the back leave and the ones in front come in again. Fortunately, Jia Yan's reputation is like a god in their hearts, otherwise who would be willing to work so hard? At least many people still have doubts in their hearts. Because of these efforts, they cannot see any gains and benefits. A few weak ones also feel that this matter has hurt their fundamentals, and their chances of promotion in the future will be greatly reduced. However, they also knew that this was the time to show their loyalty and there was no need to question the great senior. Jia Yan saw it all. He only remembered a few people who would rather hurt themselves than to persist. In short, he just wanted to prevent them from suffering in the future. It took about half a month for Jia Yan to play with the 300 test subjects over and over again. Just like a big bad wolf playing with a little white rabbit, he plays with him naked and in different ways. And Jia Yan really received some benefits. There are too few people. Otherwise his benefits would be greater. Okay, you all go back. Thank you for your cooperation. Everyone will be rewarded. The more you pay, the higher the reward. You will know after you go back and see. Yes. 300 members of the Soldier King squad, all with dark circles under their eyes, and some of them looking disfigured, limped out of the secret training room. They really wanted to escape. No matter how great this person is, studying them is really like torture. No matter how much someone they respect messes with them in such a way, they will become afraid and fearful, and they will never dare to get close to them again. These kids have worked really hard. Jia Yan looked at the group of earthlings who had been spoiled and sighed helplessly. If I hadn't really been helpless, I wouldn't have played with them, but it's for research. The results of the research are not to mention quite large. In half a month, he tested several methods that he had developed before, some of which were directly applied to Edis's scientific methods, and others were his own improved versions. It has to be said that what Edisha gave is really perfect. From the data point of view, Jia Yan's magic modification will not have any improvement effect. On the contrary, there will be some loss and the effect will become worse. But practice is different from theory. After Jia Yan tested several things, he finally came to the conclusion that although Edisha's original version was good, it was rigid and not flexible enough. One of the several methods he devised himself, it is mediocre, but the effect is not too bad, and it is extremely flexible. It takes into account the emotional level of the people being tested and absorbed, and at least prevents them from arousing the consciousness of resistance, and can make them more comfortable. That's it. Jia Yan made the choice easily, choosing the method he had devised. Edisha's kindness can easily arouse public anger. It's a bit too cruel. The person being absorbed doesn't treat him as a human being. It's like torture. It's just a joke. The one he made by himself was not said to be very easy, but it was relatively better, and it allowed everyone to take a break every once in a while, so that their psychological pressure was greatly reduced. Jia Yan chose this. After confirming the plan, it depends on the progress of the ape. If you send this plan over, it will be more effective when he devours it. The giant mosquito's compound eyes flashed a little brightly. Things are about to enter the high-speed train process. Just when Jia Yan had stabilized the two ticket holders and had an idea of how to make significant progress in cultivation, a piece of news reached Jia Yan's ears, making him feel that time was even more pressing. In the imperial capital, another major royal incident occurred. In one night, the prince mobilized all the troops around him, invaded the capital, detained the emperor, and restricted the founder's actions in some unknown way. Then he declared to the whole world that the emperor is terminally ill, and the prince takes charge of the affairs on his behalf, controlled Chaogang. The dynasty has changed. For a moment, Jia Yan was also confused. Things in the dynasty are chaotic enough, so what are you doing here, your prince? Do the royal family still think that the current dynasty is your dynasty? But it's impossible to ignore the royal family's affairs. Such variables are enough to cause misjudgments from many parties. Pass my order and ask the ambassador of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce over there to come forward and calm people's hearts, and then meet with the crown prince. No, the next emperor will see if there is any situation with the royal family. Understood. The subordinate followed the order and left. Jia Yan believed that it would be his clone who came forward to investigate the truth. If the clone couldn't understand such obvious hints, it wouldn't be called a clone. The two are the same person, or it should be said that the current clone has already been preparing to visit the imperial city. In fact, Jia Yan's guess was correct. The clones of the people in the capital woke up again, and then handed over the invitation, asking to see the prince himself as soon as possible. And that person was quite generous and announced an interview with this mysterious master from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. It happened that just when the human and horse clones were about to enter the imperial city, the task of the real body was also entrusted. With such a justified name, the centaur and horse clones have more than enough reasons to go. In the huge majestic hall, the young giant whom he had seen before was sitting on the dragon throne, condescendingly receiving the human and horse clones. This clone came into the hall without saluting or expressing any congratulations. He just frowned and said, "His Royal Highness, I haven't seen you for many days, but you are quite beautiful." "I don't dare. Thanks to seniors, I finally sat in this position today." The prince smiled slightly. "Haha, Your Highness, are you mistaken? I came here to ask you not to sit in the seat for the time being." "Oh," the prince raised his eyes, looked over with lethal eyes and said, "Senior, could it be that your Chamber of Commerce wants to become my enemy? This Chamber of Commerce is not so idle, but, Your Highness, the people behind you are not instigating this move, right? They will never be able to easily disrupt the current situation of the dynasty." The prince's expression was startled, and then he took a deep look at the centaur clone, retracted his gaze, and said with an eye to the nose and heart, "What does the senior mean? I don't understand. If the senior comes to question me, my majesty, please forgive me for being received by the Emperor Wuxia, please step aside." The centaur clone said calmly, "Your Highness, I am not questioning, but I am here to give you advice. You can't solve this matter. Even if you sit in that position, you won't be able to sit for long. Advice is hard to hear. If you don't believe it, please wait and see." Jia Yan knew that even if he said this, the prince would not believe it. After all, who becomes an emperor and is willing to listen to advice? Moreover, the relationship between them is not very friendly, and the tone of his words is even more uncomfortable. But he was about to come and say something, not for the prince. Oh! The attitude of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is so, it seems that they are not happy about changing the status quo, so let's do as they said beforehand. 3 more days passed, when Jia Yan received an urgent call from the intelligence department in Xiancheng, saying that the prince had been assassinated and was seriously injured at the hands of the assassins. He could no longer take care of the government affairs and release the previous emperor to continue to serve as emperor. He was Gu Zheng. Not Wavy. That's right. You, a small character, came out to change the status quo. What else is it if you are not looking for abuse? A grasshopper is a grasshopper and cannot make waves. However, he did not expect that the other party would give the prince some face and spare the prince's life. Now it seems that the other party is definitely not someone who wants to kill everyone, or in other words, they are the kind of people who disdain to kill. From this we can judge that they are still likely to abide by the friendly agreement I made with them. Jia Yan can always draw inferences from small things and think more profoundly. I don't know if it's because I've been in the top position for a long time. With the end of this farce, Jia Yan here not only watched a scene, but also digested a lot of surprises about the improvement in formation. He studied the formation power sent by the ape clone for a long time, divided it into several digests, and also combined several improvement methods to get the best way to use the formation talent to provide himself with power. All I owe is the east wind. It's just that the ape clone has suffered a lot after sneaking out, he has to arrange all aspects non-stop. Secondly, he has to go on a business trip and go to nearby friendly galaxy forces to recruit personnel, which will expand a lot. Jia Yan's recruitment of geniuses is about to become a grand event in the surrounding star regions. Who doesn't know that the de facto leader of the trading area is searching for talented people who meet his requirements? Those who successfully pass the assessment will not only receive an extremely powerful inheritance, but also have the opportunity to be personally taught by Jia Yan, plus good treatment, and at least stellar level prospects are guaranteed, and various insurances and personal insurances are also added. In short, it is the treatment of a regular employee, no danger and broad prospects. I don't know that young Manduan is gearing up and waiting, so the progress of this matter shouldn't be too difficult. It also benefited from the early release of the news, which gave the surrounding star field a lot of time to spread, which also facilitated the ape clone's subsequent work. Goo 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 goo. A burst of formation power squirmed. The energy was swallowed by Jia Yan into his mouth parts. "Brother Master, you are so awesome." Adisha marveled beside her. In this short period of time, Adisha has traveled back and forth to the other world several times. First, he came to exchange the content of the array with Jia Yan, but he slipped out with the car after a short time. What happened next, and then slipped into the other world? After wandering in a few cities, he seemed to be tired of it, and then she slipped out again, and at some point, she came in again. Just play. Isn't this the plan you gave me? I just modified part of it. The changes you made suit you so well. I'm not as perfect as you thought. Editha shook her head like a rattle. She gave several formation swallowing plans, including the one used by Jia Yan, but the original version was too perfect. She only considered the perfection of the one time it was used, but forgot that Jia Yan was going to continue to swallow a lot times, so Jia Yan changed some of the content himself. It doesn't look so perfect, but the damage to himself is also greatly reduced. Not only is the modification perfect, but master, your body is also very adaptable to this method. I feel that your body is much stronger than the last time I tested you. As a strong person, isn't it normal for your body to become stronger? Jia Yan laughed, feeling that this little guy's invisible flattery skills were improving. But she was really right. When Edisha designed the current plan, she gave Jia Yan a more detailed and professional test. Because the content was extremely confidential, no one else knew about the whole process except Edisha and Jia Yan themselves. After the test was completed, Jia Yan immediately used his feet to destroy all the equipment. Now it seems that there is actually no need to be afraid. Because it has only been a long time, and his body must be stronger than before. It is said that he has been at the lower level of Territory Lord for a long time, but this lower level of Territory Lord is enough for Jia Yan to practice for a long time, and his progress is not slower than that of young people. By the way, Master Brother, I have made many first drafts of your ideas. See if they are helpful to you. But don't tell me which one you choose. Your promotion is very dangerous. Yeah, the less people know about it, the better. Edisha threw out a bunch of theoretical figures and the like. Jia Yan originally had a headache with her design because there were too many numbers and the like, which made her head hurt. But after reading a few, I immediately fell into it and couldn't extricate myself. Edisha seemed to have expected such a situation, and just looked on with a smile without disturbing her. It took him 3 full days to finish reading the content in his hand, and he took a long breath. You little guy, you wrote a bunch of things that made my brain cells die, but this is really amazing. I feel that the things you gave me are becoming more and more practical. Edisha, thank you very much. Hee, you don't need to thank me very much. Master, brother, just think it's useful. You don't need to tell Edisha which one you chose. Anyway, even if I try to perfect it, I can't do it. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3339. Jia Yan accepted Edisha's words. Edisha gave a total of 5 options. The content of these 5 draft plans is exactly what Jia Yan wants to do most recently, a plan to improve his own array genes. Others can convert and optimize array genes with Jia Yan's help, so there's no reason why he can't do it himself. But it really can't be done. It is true that the bodies of the lower level domain lords are too powerful and sophisticated. If they really want to make such earth-shaking improvements, not to mention a narrow escape from death, they will almost die from 10 to no life. But precisely because it is difficult, if it can be successful, judging from the degree of enhancement of other people after undergoing the genetic transformation of the array, I am afraid that once it succeeds, Jia Yan's strength will soar instantly. It's no big deal to progress up the ladder by more than 10 levels. Even from an optimistic point of view, it is not completely impossible to reach the sky in one step, go directly to the 70 or 80 levels, and advance to the real middle and high-level domain lords. You have to have dreams, otherwise what's the difference between you and salted fish? Jia Yan carefully read all the contents and finally chose the one that suited him best and was also the most realistic. Jia Yan could forget about using the cores of 5,000 planets to create the key refining elements of the formation in one go, increasing the chance of success, and so on. Just like telling lies, it's a shame that Aditya's imagination can think of such a thing now. The plan he chose was something that even Jia Yan felt was a bit funny after seeing it himself. Collecting 50 star cores, plus 100 Tau hearts of various attributes in the inner world, and more than 10 other rare species, the final brood formation will promote the transformation of my body into a body of formation genes. Master, Please choose this one. This one has the lowest success rate. Edisha blinked her big eyes, a little confused. Leave the other options aside, why choose the one with the lowest success rate? Don't you know why? Jia Yan rolled his eyes at her. What 5,000 star cores, what 500 guru level master's power, which of these conditions is realistic? It is not as simple as finding a few Deo hearts and star cores. Oh. Edisha is still a little confused. But Jia Yan chose this method, which meant that he had made a decision. Edisha didn't know what to say, and immediately entered the helpful housewives mode, trying to find ways to arrange the next steps for Jia Yan. Jia Yan himself was thinking about how to obtain the Deo heart and star core he requested. In fact, Deo Xian is the easiest to obtain. Although there are various requirements, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce now controls a large area of land. In terms of pure quantity, Deo heart is enough. Even if the attributes are too single, just find someone to replace them. So this is relatively easy to solve. But the star core is much more troublesome. There are not 5,000 star cores, only 50. But these 50 have higher quality requirements, and they will definitely not be found in the other world. They need to be searched for in the Milky Way. The difficulty is that most planets only have one star core, and almost all of them have owners. Those without owners belong to desolate stars. Not only are they difficult to find, they are also most likely small stars with no star core. Jia Yan once searched hard for star cores and even made fake star cores himself, so he knew a lot about them. Jia Yan definitely cannot make the kind of star core that meets Edisha's definition. It must be naturally formed, and ordinary planets may not produce it. In other words, Jia Yan will most likely be stuck at this step. If you look for it slowly, it may take dozens or even hundreds of years, or even more. This is already the most realistic of the 5 major plans listed by Edisha. It shows how nonsense everything else is. Star core. Suddenly, Jia Yan remembered something. He was slightly surprised, and then he felt blessed and found the best solution. Granted, his chances are running out in the Milky Way, but what about non-galaxy? It is unrealistic for Jia Yan to run to other galaxies, because he has not yet left the Milky Way. But this does not prevent him from obtaining supplies from other galaxies. Aren't there still those so-called extraterrestrial visitors? Each of them comes from a galaxy like the Milky Way, and many of them are from large forces. As long as the transaction conditions I offer are sufficient, maybe someone will be willing to exchange star cores with me. I wonder if the alien star core tastes the same as the Milky Way star core. Jia Yan found the direction. Soon, information about Suankan's invitation to several extraterrestrial visitors from other galaxies with whom they had friendship was leaked. Jia Yan also explained that Xiancheng welcomes any friends from outside the galaxy. 50 star cores, and all of them are high-end. In the Milky Way, there may not even be enough planets like the Earth. There is a high probability that the life planet in the central star field of the galaxy needs to disintegrate before one can be born, and there is also a probability problem, so this risky move had to be taken. Soon, an extraterrestrial visitor from the mainland came to the door. President Jia Yan, I wonder if you want to see me. Is there something important? This extraterrestrial visitor is an officer of a mysterious extraterrestrial visitor force on the mainland. He had previously formed a relationship with Jia Yan because he wanted to form an alliance. Jia Yan originally didn't pay much attention to it and only left a rough contact information, but he didn't expect to use it today. I can't talk about anything important, but it's just something I need here. I wonder if you have it. What? Star core. Huh? Star core? You want star core? This thing is the hard currency in the universe. We have it even if you say you want it. Even if we have it, we may not be willing to trade with you unless you can give us a concession. The price is our heart's content. To put it bluntly, the other party does. Of course Jia Yan knew that the other party had it. Even he has a certain amount of star cores in his hands. The trade area has not been opened in vain for so many years. But thinking about Edish's so-called mid to high-level star core requirements and the matching of attributes, Jia Yan had a headache. He shook his head and said, "It's not an ordinary star core. I can send you the request." Jia Yan opened his personal communication method and sent out several requirements for the star core materials that Edisha needed. After watching for a long time, the other person's expression gradually became strange. After a moment, he put down his smart communicator and sighed softly, "I'm sorry, Mr. Jia Yan, if you want this kind of star core, we can't get it. Such a star core is on our side and belongs to it is a peerless level star core, which can usually only be born inside a super large living planet, and the way to obtain the star core is to destroy the entire planet. It is impossible for a madman to do such a thing. The problem of slow update of new chapters has finally been solved with an app that can change sources. Download the Spuin Source Change app here and view the latest chapters of this book on multiple sites at the same time. I wonder if you know anyone who might be able to trade with me." Jia Yan continued to ask without giving up. The other party pondered for a while. If Jia Yan was not the president of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce and had great power on the mainland, he would have left long ago. But precisely because Jia Yan was the president of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, he also believed that Jia Yan really had the financial resources to purchase peerless star cores, so he talked with Jia Yan for a while. "Actually, there is not a group that can meet your requirements, but this group is hard to find, and they are generally very open-mouthed. There is even a possibility that some people will lose their money, so I'm afraid you won't dare to go to them." "Who?" Jia Yan asked again. "Star Thief." Star Thief. Upon hearing this name, Jia Yan immediately understood it. In the Milky Way, star thieves have long become a thing of the past, and the name is rarely heard once. It is not that there are no star thieves anymore, but that star thieves have come to an end in the Haitian era. Nowadays, not to mention disappearing, they are absolutely rare. But in other galaxies, there should be gangs similar to star thieves, or star thieves. The more powerful ones among them may also attack cities and land, or even destroy living planets, and the properties of star thieves cannot be settled in one place for a long time, so after they get a living planet, they will most likely take out the star core from the planet. Until the planet is destroyed. Among them may be mid to high-end star cores. I wonder how to contact those star thieves. Please give me some advice, brother, we really can't find any star thieves in our galaxy. The other party looked helpless for a while. The Milky Way is so lucky. Star thieves are rampant in our galaxy. However, my relationship with star thieves is not deep. If you have the courage, go to my galaxy and try to find one yourself. Let's get in touch, but I'm not giving you the way to my galaxy for free. We are all brothers, I understand. If you want people to tell you key information, how can you not give them some sweeteners?" Jia Yan generously gave 3 Taoist hearts, which made the other party smile. Ordinary Taoist hearts are no longer of much help to Jia Yan, so he doesn't feel much distress if they are given as benefits. "Well, I'm going back to my galaxy in a few days. If you don't mind, can you come with me?" "No, just tell me the route. I probably won't go there for the time being. I'm busy with some things recently." The other party was silent for a moment, and he suddenly understood. Jia Yan was worried that he was cheating on him. This visitor has nothing to be unhappy about. Vigilance is the instinct of a strong man. If he didn't even have vigilance, Jia Yan would have died countless times. So he just smiled indifferently, then took out the map, talked to Jia Yan again, and left. Jia Yan was holding the map on his feet and thinking slightly. Of course he doesn't have time. Although he didn't want to go to other starry skies, because he didn't want to take risks without ensuring safety. But if this matter involves his promotion plan, he is still willing to take a small risk. After all, his essential purpose in coming to the other world was to go further, and now that he had found a new way to greatly enhance his strength through formations, how could he not be willing to take risks? That galaxy is about 200 million light-years away from the Milky Way. It's really far away. According to it, the physical laws of that galaxy are a little different from those of the Milky Way. Although it is not completely reversed, it does not affect the laws of our Milky Way. The influence of masters is also huge. Maybe my strength in the lower level of Domain Lord was temporarily unable to adapt to the situation in the past, so I entered the lower level of Domain Lord for the first time. It will take a certain amount of time to adapt before I can return to the peak, and I will definitely continue to do so. Just shy of reaching the top. Jia Yan thought silently. The only good news is that the way in and out of the galaxy is through subspace. Presumably subspace is the method that prevails throughout the universe. This other world is a bridge connecting the vast areas of subspace, but now, its original appearance and function have been abandoned, and instead it has become a place for wrestling between major galaxies. But even so, his essential role as a bridge still exists. The coordinates are here, so what I have to do now, is to rush there, pass through subspace, reach their galaxy, make a deal with the star thieves, and then come back. It sounds simple, but Jia Yan is worried about something going wrong in the process. No matter which link, there may be problems. Will there be a problem finding the coordinates? The location of the coordinates must have been protected by the force just now. It would be difficult for him to cover up and be exposed. If you say that, you might be targeted again. Putting everything aside, he arrived at the opponent's galaxy safe and sound, but how to find the star thief after that, how to ensure safety in contact with the star thief, and what price to offer, etc., are all huge problems. Since the original body is so difficult, then Jia Yan's eyes became helpless and his eyes turned to a certain direction. About 3 or 4 days passed. On a giant ship riding the wind and waves, chopping waves in the vast ocean, an incomparably tiny human black-haired man shook his head helplessly. Tima, such a dangerous thing came to my mind. There is nothing the Black God clone can do. He is not the real body, so he naturally knows how to let the clone handle dangerous matters. But all the previous dangers were not to the Black God's clone, and he still thought he was the unique one. I didn't expect that I would be sent out immediately today, and that whenever I do something dangerous, it would be so dangerous. Going to a new world that I have never seen before. He sighed and he never expected that one day, as a clone, he would actually run to an outer galaxy ahead of his real body. If this job is done well, not only will he get a good reputation, but he will also be able to be one step ahead of everyone, appreciate the scenery and appearance of the outer galaxy, and satisfy his desire to show off. Boom. Next to him was a huge creature that was more than 5,000 kilometers high, staggering drunkenly, leaning on the railing, laughing. The Black God clone glanced at the other person, ignoring him. He didn't buy a ticket and didn't reveal his identity to anyone. Because no one can see a human clone like him who is over 1.7 meters tall. Even the railing on the bow of the ship seemed to the Black God Jia Yan to be the size of an entire country, so he just lived on the railing. Every once in a while, a drunk would bump into the railing, which made him very unhappy. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3340. Well, there are really many natural and man-made disasters in this mainland area. My family's ancestors have said that major changes will occur in the mainland every year. It's a pity that no matter what I ask, he doesn't know the specific situation. The drunken giant life hugged the wine bottle and laughed happily. A companion of similar size next to him came up and said, "Then that ancestor of your family must be a great master, knowing so many secrets." "What a great master, he is just a guy who has been laid to rest. He died more than 300 years ago, and his ashes are still enshrined in my family. If the clan members didn't hold on to the self-esteem that they are the descendants of strong men, will I end up going to the mainland to work now? I'm so angry." "Haha, brother, isn't this a great time for you? Since you are a queen from a famous family, maybe going to the mainland will be your chance to change fortunes. Come on, don't talk about those unhappy things, drink. Oh, there are actually people on the ship who know the historical rumors." Black God Jia Yan looked at this drunken person unexpectedly. Then he saw at a glance that there was a small object hanging on the whip, which seemed to be a bit mysterious. The pendant-like object was not big, only 100 kilometers in size, just like an asteroid. Of course, in comparison, it was several times larger than the real body, but it was still big enough. It has been running stably for many years. It is comparable to the old version of the book-chasing artifact, and is used by old bookworms, Huan Yuan. It's not that big because compared to its owner's figure, which is more than 5,000 kilometers long, it's like hanging a child's necklace. It seems a little weird, this thing. I want it. As the Lord of the world, Black God is usually quite calm, but deep down he is more domineering than me. How else would he be called God King? Crunch. Where's my necklace? Not long after, the 5,000-kilometer tall giant looked around in his guest room with dull eyes. Then he angrily went to the next room and got into a fight with the person he was chatting with. This is the only friend on the whole ship who met by chance and knows his true identity. He knows that the necklace is an ancestral item. Now that the thing has been mysteriously lost, who else should we look for if we don't look for this person? Listening to the curses and arguments coming from the next door room, Black God Jia Yan still couldn't bear it and took out a piece of Dao heart fragment from the subspace and put it in the ship passenger's room with a note written on it. "Buy this thing with gold." Not long after, Haishan, who returned to the railing, heard the muffled exclamations of the boat passengers coming from the guest room. A piece of Dao heart is also a Dao heart. Even if Jia Yan himself can use the Dao heart every day, think about how difficult it was for him to get a piece of Dao heart when he came to the other world. You will know that the Dao heart is in the other world of preciousness. If this boatman is not revealed to the public and returns to his hometown with his Taoist heart, he can use his Taoist heart to revive the family to a small extent. Therefore, the Black God clone is quite at ease, and the necklace is not necessarily better than the Tao heart. Of course it's better. I see, this thing is actually. Black God Jia Yan's eyes flickered slightly, finally knowing the origin and usage of this thing. It's really just luck that no one can stop. It can easily communicate with space, whether it is subspace or ectopic space, which will be easily broken by the space-breaking ability of this necklace. If it weren't for the Black God's clone holding such an alien world as the creation of the world in his hands, he might not be able to quickly detect its use after getting this necklace, because this thing is invisible and has not come into contact with the alien space. Not even a ripple was made. It's useless to give it to the real body. The real body's subspace talent is enough to compare with this thing, but I complement it perfectly. The Black God clone quickly cheered up. This space-breaking object is even more powerful for him who controls the world of creation. He usually opens the world of creation, which always requires a certain amount of energy loss and damage. Moreover, in the other world, the instability of the subspace has also caused abnormalities. The creation world of bit space is in an awkward position. Once the status is opened, it may cause subspace distortion to invade the created world, causing a destructive event that will devastate all life in the created world. It's okay now. With such a necklace helping to stabilize the space, I can rest assured about this. And, it seems that I can also borrow this necklace to travel in subspace. The clones do not have the subspace talent of the real body. Generally speaking, when they enter the subspace, they either use energy to carry it or borrow the subspace skills of Jia Yan's real body to make their way. In fact, the risk is also extremely high. It is even impossible to swim through the deep subspace like the real body, because the gap between strength and talent is too big. But with this necklace, the Black God clone saw hope. Goodoo. Just do it if you think of it. The Black God clone tore open the subspace, and the whole person got into the necklace on the surface of the subspace. That's right, getting inside the necklace. Do you really think this is a necklace for the Black God clone? The necklace, which is over 100 kilometers long, is larger than many cities on Earth. He would have no problem living there. Buzz. The fluctuations in subspace are more exaggerated than imagined. The previous clones of the Black God that entered the subspace of the other world were all near Xiancheng. The subspace in that area was quite different from the subspace in the area out to sea. Let's put it this way, there is at most the strength of 11 or 2 levels of space. With the energy of the formation he got from his true body and the extra-dimensional created world to help withstand part of the pressure, it is no problem to travel through it. Of course, it lasts for a few seconds and no longer than 1 minute. But when it comes to the normal subspace location in the inner world, this cannot be described in more than 10 levels of space. Even the real body can only enter in seconds. If the clone dares to come here to take risks, it will be taught how to behave in an instant. However, at this time, he discovered that this necklace really helped him resist most subspace fluctuations. It is truly a treasure. The Black God clone was overjoyed. After moving in the subspace for a moment, he felt that although the necklace could indeed help him move in the normal world space, it was difficult to withstand the pressure of the starting projectile. He had to use the defensive power of the real body's array, and then coupled with the sharing of the pressure of creating the world, it finally became a little normal. No more than 3 minutes at most, but just like this, it has even exceeded the time that the real body can bear in the subspace of the other world. The face of the Black God clone was filled with satisfaction. He did something that even his real body couldn't do. Isn't this worthy of praise? If this thing is given to the real body, it really has no such effect, because although the real body is not bigger than the necklace itself, after all, the body that is more than 30 kilometers long still has to bear huge pressure on the necklace. Unlike the Black God clone, find a gap where the necklace pendant is, go in and stand and you will be protected. Hey, these damn Bridge World natives are like a bunch of arrogant and disgusting racists. Stop scolding. If you scold again, the sound will reach their ears, and you will suffer again. If you ask me, why don't we report it to the higher authorities and remove these forces from the calculation? They are not a particularly friendly force. Don't say that. If you had said it so simply, wouldn't the higher UPS have taken action earlier? In fact, we can't remove it. There are not 10,000 but 8,000 similar forces in the Bridge world. Should we allocate them one by one? Impossible. Destroying one family will arouse the vigilance of other families, so you can't move, just cooperate with them honestly. Oh, you are so useless. On the continent, there are countless forces in the vast and boundless areas. But among these forces, there is another group of unknown but very active existences. They are collectively called outsiders. I don't know where they come from, and their purposes are different. They are strong and weak, but each one is quite small and not outstanding in stature. However, many have ancient. Only the inherited power sects know that this group of outsiders cannot be underestimated. It is this group of small outsiders who are looked down upon by the masters of the local inner world, who have actually destroyed the inner world again and again, and the continental pattern has been shuffled again and again because of their competition. Every time a catastrophe occurs, it is because these outsiders compete for qualifications. Many high-level forces who knew the inside story had similar doubts more than once. Are these little guys really so strong? But ancient teachings cannot be ignored, so when the number of outsiders has gradually increased in the past 100 years and many forces have been undercurrents, the ancient forces have chosen to believe in ancient books and secretly contact these outsiders. Many of these forces are polite to outsiders, but many of them are not so friendly to this group of tiny creatures. Coupled with the universal forces that don't know what happened in ancient times, all outsiders can be said to be miserable in the mainland. I'm not willing to accept it. We are so powerful, yet we are looked down upon by these guys in the bridge. This only means that our work is not done well. Look at that force called the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. They have done a good job. Even the local forces in the bridge world have allied with them. If we can do this, okay, how can I get a blank look? That force? But, this is just a force created by people who don't know the inside story. They just want profits and are not planning at all. We are competing with the same force, not this one. The power ratio, if they knew the truth about the bridge world, they would not lay it out like this. The outsiders in the conversation were chatting and ridiculing the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. There is no way, sitting in the mainland, they are like rats crossing the street, trying to connect any forces, often with little success. We can only tell the story of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, which seems to have been kept in the dark. However, just as they were talking about the so-called Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, one of them's eyes suddenly glazed over, and he discovered that several familiar middle and high-level people from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce had come to the force where they were stationed. Outsiders are quite obscure in the mainland. Many stations are like an ordinary small biological community. If you don't pay attention, you won't be able to detect any difference from the local small creatures. Therefore, it is difficult for ordinary people to explore the secrets of this place. But at this time, they only saw a few senior executives from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce stationed nearby, coming to their station. Moreover, the ones who led them in were several guru-level, high-level officials at their station. What's going on? Someone from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce actually came to your door. Did someone tell them the truth? Otherwise, why would you let them come to your door? Or is it that our analysis was wrong? In fact, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce also knows the inside story, and now they have come to showdown with us and want to cooperate. How could it be possible? If they want to know the inside story, wouldn't the things they did in the past be superfluous? This is called confusing the enemy. Damn it, I thought they were fools, but it turned out that I was the fool. The two people in the conversation seemed to have figured out something, and they called themselves fools. How could the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce be a force of uninformed fools? I'm glad that your Chamber of Commerce is also one of us. On the other side, after welcoming several high-level executives of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce into the force, an outsider here, a high-level member of the force, said the opening remarks with a smile. Haha, I'm also glad that we are traveling together. This area is a small mountainous area on the mainland near the sea. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce here is actually just a branch. It usually sells some technological products and processes some less important handicrafts. It can be said that in many places in the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce branch, it was very unremarkable. Even the branch president was recruited from the Imperial Island, but he was at a very ordinary human level, not even comparable to the galaxy level. But now, the president of Japan was told that he had come to contact an outsider force here. Let the other party believe that he is the so-called insider, and then bring in a mysterious person arranged by the above to meet with the senior officials of this power. At this time, they have entered the second step, and the mysterious person arranged above is following their team. But no one can see it. A fellow traveler, that's right. I wonder what the situation is like with the owner behind your Chamber of Commerce? If our interests are the same for the time being, we can be friendly partners. The leader of the force in this place is smiling but not smiling. The so-called holders are actually contenders. No matter how good the relationship between the two parties is, in the later stages, there must be a strong fight, and every time it is almost a matter of life and death. However, before that, they can join forces, because for each holder, it is not as easy as imagined to become a contender. Just because you have a ticket does not mean that you will definitely be able to reach the level of a contender. Before entering the real level of competition, it would be a good thing if there is a chance to join forces. Anyway, this is what many holders do, and it has become an unwritten rule. The holder behind us? This. The branch president was already a little confused. In fact, this process was all guided by the mysterious person behind it. He only had a partial understanding of the holders and contenders. By Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3341. If we really wanted to continue chatting with him, he would be in a fog. I'm sorry, sir, this president doesn't know much about the inside story, so let's talk about it next. At this moment, a voice appeared on the spot. Who? The contact's eyes suddenly became dangerous. You know, he has reached an expert equivalent to the domain lord level, but at his level of strength, he didn't feel the other party's presence before the sound appeared, which was a huge mistake. Is he a master level expert? Oh, I've always been here, you can't see it, blame me. The voice came out again, but it was a little helpless, as if it was very depressed. Everyone finally focused carefully and saw clearly that there was always a little black spot in the scene. Yes, it's just a little black spot. One of them is only over 1.7 meters tall and looks like a small insect. Although none of the people present are big men who are tens of thousands of kilometers in the world, they are at least tens or hundreds of kilometers in size. Facing a life form that is less than 1 kilometer, or even less than 10 meters, seeing it in its entirety leakage is not impossible. The key is that the strength of this little bug-like creature is completely hidden. If it doesn't speak, who would notice such a gadget? Who are you? We all know that people in the universe are short, but are you too short? Assassin. At this moment, another senior executive spoke, which made the resident master slightly moved, thinking of the rumors about the other party. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has become bigger and stronger in this area, and everything about the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has spread. After all, although you look down on the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, it's hard not to deal with them. It's always good to know more about them. Especially like the power station with hidden attributes in front of them. They are used to enjoying a life of technology. When they came to the other world, they couldn't live happily without technology. However, they could not openly develop it for reasons that they wanted to hide. At this time, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce appeared. Although the technological concepts of the Milky Way are different from theirs, they are still better than nothing. That's why he knew the rumors about the assassin. You actually know me? Well, things will be much simpler, let's talk. After the Black God Jia Yan was slightly surprised, he said his request regardless. Okay. Although I don't know what this rumored high-level executive of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce on the island is doing, the other party is not intimidated. Regarding the many problems currently exposed by the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, one thing is clear, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce does not know the significance of the existence of the bridge world, nor the conditions of admission tickets in this bridge world. Are they still afraid of this kind of force? Non-existent. Your visit has made this village shine. After entering the residence, Haishan was a little embarrassed. Even the chairs in his house were occupied by people who were at least dozens of kilometers away. He, a little guy over 1 meter tall, would probably fall directly into the gap if he sat on it. So he flew to the top of the chair's backrest, where he could still play football without rolling to the ground. Haha, this so-called village of your power is really well hidden. People who don't know it would think that you are really a village of small native creatures. The two sides had in-depth and friendly exchanges on village issues, which meant just a few pleasantries. After finally opening the topic, it's time to get to the point. I wonder what your assassin wants when you visit our force. The Black God clone cheered up and said calmly, I have a letter from a deacon from outside your power. You will know after reading it. Oh. A subordinate of the Black God clone stepped forward and handed the so-called letter into the other party's hand. Although the Black God clone can also carry the letter in the subspace and then take it out from the subspace and hand it to the other party, this exposes his subspace ability. Therefore, he would rather be led into the interior of the station than expose his abilities. The letter is easy for creatures dozens of kilometers in size to read. After he unfolded the letter and read it hastily, he suddenly understood. Is the assassin preparing to go to our galaxy for diplomatic activities? That's right, Akira doesn't tell secrets. Although we, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, were kept in the dark before, we have recently encountered the so-called ticket issue. Now we are looking for possible allies. If your forces agree, I will join. Looking at the galaxy behind you, as long as both parties are sincere, an alliance must be close at hand. The words of the Black God clone made the other party ponder. If he can win over an ally, his contribution is not small, and the previous behavior of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is really like not knowing the existence of the ticket. In this way, it is easy to handle, but is there any hidden meaning in this matter? The reason, and whether it was a trap or something, he had to think about. If the recommendation is wrong and problems arise in the future, the superiors cannot blame themselves. The village chief is not in charge of this matter, so please wait a moment, Mr. Assassin. In the end, he did not choose to deal with the issue himself, but raised the issue above. If something goes wrong in the future, it will be the fault of the above, so at least he can suffer less. He took out an egg-shaped substance, and when he moved a little higher, a ripple appeared on the surface of the egg-shaped substance, and a sound appeared. Jia Yan listened to the other party's words, but found that he couldn't understand the language. It was probably that the other party used the local language and deliberately hid the brainwave power. The Black God clone was neither unhappy nor surprised. This was just a normal operation. The other party's communication lasted for about 3 minutes, probably relaying the arrival status of Black God Jia Yan and his own analysis, etc., and finally received a response. We agree to your mission, but there are some things you need to pay attention to during this process. An alliance is still a force with great influence on the nearby islands and mainland, and it is quite attractive to them. It's not like other forces can't operate like the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. It's just that the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce attracted too much attention by showing up like this. If it were the real ticket holders, they would usually be behind the scenes, because if they were exposed, they might be targeted. This is called the law of the dark forest. Although the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce was too blatant and had an impact on their own safety, it would be completely different if they secretly reached an alliance agreement with this force. As long as the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce abides by the contract and the two parties try not to publicize their relationship with each other, then the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce will not only be able to satisfy them in terms of products, but will also be able to pass on a lot of important intelligence information, which will lead to the war that is about to begin. Is quite beneficial. As for whether the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce will enter a dead end because of its alliance with itself? What does this have to do with them? It was the assassin who came to the door himself. In short, this mission was approved by the other party. Boom. 2 days later, a roar sounded in this small mountain village. The roaring stopped suddenly, and the surrounding animals and small creature villages would only think that another small explosion had occurred here. It happened once in a while, and it happened several times. What's going on in the new village? However, no one has ever thought that the creatures in this new village are collectively outsiders from outer galaxies. Is this your passage? It is indeed a different route. Black God Jia Yan looked at the passage in front of him and felt a sense of novelty. No wonder he felt that the subspace in this area was no weaker than that of the Imperial Dynasty, but it could carry the other party's entry and exit. It turns out that this passage is a mezzanine passage in subspace. In subspace, there are interlayers of space, and sometimes such interlayers can extend endlessly, extending from the very depths to the outer layer. But the mezzanine is average. The maintenance time is extremely short, and even if it exists, it is difficult for you to detect it. Jia Yan himself has studied the mezzanine more than once, but all failed. I don't know what method this force used to artificially maintain a mezzanine, and the pressure inside was far smaller than the outside. Is this an artificially maintained mezzanine? What method was used? Sorry, Mr. Assassin, this matter is confidential. Oh, forget it. Black God just asked casually, but the other party didn't want to answer, so he wasn't unhappy at all. Entered the subspace. This way please. The space inside this mezzanine has become a piece of iron barrel. It can be said to be a mezzanine, but it is better to say it is an obvious passage. Even tunnels were developed inside, making it impossible for the Black God clone to look around while walking. Do you have to be so defensive? He was helpless. If he could get this mezzanine technology, let alone the Imperial Island, he would be sure to create a passage even in the ordinary subspace. It's a pity that the other party's hidden methods made him fail, otherwise this would be one of the gains. The group of people flew forward. Jia Yan did not let any of his colleagues from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce follow him, because he didn't know what would happen if he entered the other party's galaxy. He is just a clone. If he dies, well, he doesn't want to die. If he dies, even if his true body can recover a Black God clone, it will no longer be him, and many of the Black God's own abilities, including world creation, will be lost. Even the real body is not willing to accept this, but it is better than the real body personally taking the risk. It's quite long. It must be many times longer than the train passage on the real body's side. There must be a reason for this. After flying for a long time, the Black God clone realized something. The mezzanine may not lead directly to the galaxy where they are located like the passage on the Imperial Island, but may have twists and turns. These twists and turns cannot be without reason. It is probably related to the concept of their design or the principle of the mezzanine itself. As a master with top subspace talent, he has inherited all the knowledge of his real body. With a little thought, an answer is ready to come out. This mezzanine must have used distortion to disperse the pressure in subspace. The principle came to mind quickly, but the actual core technology and secrets are not that simple. Anyway, Jia Yan himself would definitely not be able to think of a way to deal with it. But if you know the general principle, you will have the opportunity to copy it. I'm afraid the other party didn't expect that this person could feel the principle of the passage while flying in the passage that seemed to be unchanging. What's more, he didn't expect that the assassin was just a clone. His true identity was the president of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce himself, who had outstanding abilities in subspace. Therefore, Jia Yan directly saw through the principle of this passage, and they can only blame them for not being vigilant enough. Of course, it doesn't matter if the principle is known. Many forces in the world use this principle. It is too difficult to imitate. At least it requires hard study for a long time. After flying for another 3 days and 3 nights, even the Black God Jia Yan felt a little tired. Ahead is the exit of our forces. The village chief beside him warned. Arrive. Not long after, a group of people flew out from a huge exit about 500 kilometers high and wide. Unexpectedly, there was already a waiting team outside. Haha, this is my friend from the Milky Way, right? I am the representative of the Silver Force from this galaxy, and I welcome you. The status of Yin Ao's forces is much greater than that in the other world. Outside, there was a uniform army waiting to greet them. The number of people exceeded tens of thousands, and the few standing at the front of the queue looked extremely powerful. They were obviously the super masters of this Yin Ao force. All at least. He is a lower level domain lord, and he feels that his level of strength is not low. The Black God clone was slightly startled, then returned to normal. Such a formation really surprised him, but if he said that he was shocked by the use of formations and masters, he would be underestimating him. His real body is definitely not weaker than the group of guys in front of him, and he also has his own unique skills. If he really wants to fight, it will be difficult for everyone present to swarm him and pose a fatal threat to his real body. In this way, his demeanor was noticed by everyone. This group of people looked at each other secretly and understood. None of the greeters present were familiar with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce or anything like that. In fact, when their force goes to the other world, it is just to go all out for a person with unlimited potential in the force. In normal times, most of the time, the force still works hard in the local galaxy. So let alone the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, they are not familiar with many of the bordering forces and masters in the world. Now I just heard that such a representative of a force who wants to form an alliance has come to the other world. I went to Shiyuan and then we all went out to have a look. The reason why the battle is so high-end is also very simple, that is, to control the opponent. By the way, see if you are qualified to form an alliance with their Yin Ao forces. He was not shocked to see so many masters, which means that the other party has also seen many existences similar to himself and others. Very good, this Galaxy Chamber of Commerce meets their alliance requirements. If something happens, maybe they can send strong men to fight in their own galaxy. After all, they are all aligned, and anything can happen. While the other party was looking at the Black God clone, the Black God clone was also looking at the surrounding scenery. It is a starry sky that looks no different than the starry sky surrounding the Milky Way. There are also stars in the distance, and the starlight shines brightly. If it weren't for the fact that the distribution of stars was different from the Milky Way, he would have thought he was back in the Milky Way. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3342. However, after taking a closer look, I suddenly felt that I had arrived in a different galaxy. This is the first time that Jia Yan, including his true form, has come to other galaxies. I have long heard from many scientists and physicists that there are many strange things in the universe. Many scientists have also asserted that the farther away from the Milky Way, the more different it is from the Milky Way, and even the basic laws of physics may even change. Originally, Jia Yan sneered. But now that he came to this galaxy, he suddenly discovered that the power had really changed. The power seems to be different. Although there seems to be no change overall, the methods you can use take some time to adapt. It is indeed a place 100 million light years away. The laws of physics are slightly different. Even the time seems to be faint. It's different. Of course, the variables are not that big. It can be treated as a distant galaxy. It's just these small changes that require a lot of adaptation. Black God Jia Yan even sighed. I am afraid he is the first living body to travel so far away in the arms of Orion. Oh no, he's not even a living being, he's just a clone of a strong man. Maybe there are masters in other parts of the galaxy who have come to such a distant place, such as the supreme beings, but he is certain that there are no such masters in the Orion arm. So he is definitely the first person in history. Please come with me. The group of people led the Black God clone and flew towards the distant direction of the starry sky. In fact, the Black God clone looked at the big guys around him and wanted to say, "I'm a little tired, why don't you let me get on the battleship and take a rest?" But a group of masters were following him meticulously, as if it was some kind of etiquette, and he couldn't open his mouth, so he had to fly with them. Until half an hour later, the group of people flew in the dark space for a long time. Jia Yan felt impatient and thought he was going to fly forever. His eyes suddenly widened. In the distance, an extremely twisted spherical thing came into view. Damn it! The Black God clone felt his mouth go dry and his head was filled with disbelief for a moment. Something that is considered legendary in the galaxy, something that many people have thought of, but that no one has ever seen, and whose existence itself is gradually being denied, seems to have appeared in front of him. Wormhole? And it's super micro. Impossible. The existence of wormholes has been denied by many scientists as early as the Milky Way, because wormholes are impossible to exist according to the physical laws and mathematical models of the Milky Way. In fact, many scientists, physicists, and even mathematicians are trying to find ways to make possible theoretical wormholes appear in the universe, or to find proof of the existence of wormholes within the Milky Way. But without exception, these efforts were in vain. People in the Milky Way finally gave up the search and no longer expected to use this legendary object that could instantly travel through endless space. Instead, they turned their attention to subspace, gravitational wave space, and various space collapse and other methods to conduct long-distance exploration. Sailing. But today, in front of the Black God's clone, a wormhole appeared alive. "Mr. Assassin, what's wrong?" The people around him were a little curious. Black God Jia Yan was very emotional just now, which immediately attracted their attention. "Ahem, it's nothing." "What is this one?" "Oh, this is the wormhole we use to connect the main forces. I wonder if you can adapt to the wormholes on our side? Our manufacturing method is more radical. Maybe the wormholes in your galaxy are more stable than ours. Relatively speaking, our wormhole is a little dizzying, so please be patient. Adapt, adapt. Why don't you adapt? Come on. Isn't it just dizziness? Does he care about dizziness? What he cares about is whether this wormhole will work or not. Many scientists in the Milky Way have said that wormholes may not be passages through space. If you enter, you will die or turn into particles. Don't kill this clone of yourself. Buzz. Together with the long welcoming team, everyone entered the wormhole about 500 kilometers long and wide. Black God Jia Yan suddenly felt lightheaded, and a physical sensation far beyond subspace and gravitational wave space came. It is somewhat similar to the teleportation technique in the other world. Yet completely different. He couldn't tell what it felt like, but after about 3 seconds, he calmed down and looked at the people around him. It is also swaying, indicating that there is no point in carrying out a sneak attack here. If he wants to attack others, he cannot even catch the shadow of others. Similarly, others cannot attack him, but it is not yet clear who is the master of the wormhole. Whether they can attack in other ways, such as throwing the enemy out of the wormhole, the huge destructive power can kill people instantly. But it is impossible to ask now. The Black God clone pretended to be in a calm state, shuttled through it, and at the same time evaluated this so-called wormhole. Sure enough, it is not the kind of wormhole that one normally thinks of. There are too many uncertain factors in the process, and it also takes a long time. It took about 2 days for them to fly out of the wormhole. It's just that I don't know how many light years it has leapt. Your Excellency Assassin, you are tired from the journey, so please come and stay at our VIP hotel. Accompanied by this group of people playing music and playing, the Black God clone entered the VIP hotel arranged by the other party. The Black God clone keenly felt that while his own force was very different from the forces in the galaxy, there was also something wrong with the atmosphere within the force. It feels like being ready. My friend, can I go out for a while? Sorry, foreign guests are generally not allowed to go out. We need to ensure your safety. Oh well. The Black God clone was naturally not that well behaved. After being refused by the guard or monitor at the door, he flew straight to the window of the VIP room. High-tech is high-tech, but the building probably never considered that tiny creatures would live in it from the beginning, leaving many loopholes. He easily evaded the surveillance system and followed the direction of the energy and left the VIP hotel. Although it is certain that he was noticed, it doesn't matter if he apologizes later. After all, he didn't do anything bad, he just wanted to know the inside story of this bank power. As the target of an alliance, if you don't even know the details of this power, then it's a crappy alliance. Right. There are many magical places. Although it is also a starry sky, the overall atmosphere here is not like a technological future world, but rather like an ancient social atmosphere brought to the stars. All life forms are taller than those in the Milky Way, and are not as exaggerated as in the other world. However, the body size of an adult can be 30 to 50 kilometers, and the size of a strong person is even more exaggerated. A strong person can be 3 to 500 kilometers, or no wonder they have rarely seen such a small and powerful person as the Black God clone. And more importantly, their society mainly exists in the stars, not on a certain planet. Because stars have not grown in size, how many living creatures of 30 to 50 kilometers can live on an Earth-like planet with a diameter of more than 10,000 kilometers? It's not that there are no bigger planets going up, such as super-Earths, but how much bigger can they be? Dozens of times is the limit. If they are any bigger, it won't comply with astrophysics, and they will become gas planets. Therefore, it is very logical for them to live in the starry sky, and they have also developed many ways of living that are consistent with normal logic. These are lights? But they don't look like it. They have an effect similar to a solid ground. Almost not all of the buildings in the house are physically built. Many are illusory things, but only civilians use them. Technology, what rich people use, is physical matter. The Black God Jia Yan flew on the street. Because of his small size, he flew all the way without being noticed by anyone. Have you heard? It is said that our bank, a representative of a powerful family, was invited from the bridge world to form an alliance. Related discussions came from the roadside, and the Black God clone flew towards this place with its ears twitching. It was a barber shop. You can feel that the decoration of the barber shop looks luxurious, but in fact there are not many physical materials inside. The rest is composed of materials that are similar to illusion, but it cannot be said to be completely illusory. Entering the store, Mr. Tony, the interstellar version of the barber, was chatting with customers. Representative of the forces in the bridge world? How come I haven't heard of him? That's because your information is not well informed. It arrived 2 days ago. It passed through the wormhole at the entrance to the bridge world. It is more than 1,500 light-years away. It is almost time to arrive. It will definitely be reported in the newspapers in 2 days. More than 1,500 light-years? 2 days, it's not bad, but it's not amazing either. Jia Yan's real body became angry. He flew more than 1,000 light-years in 1 day within the 11th dimension of space. Of course, that was at the expense of his body. However, this also shows that the so-called wormhole technology is not omnipotent, and it may be that the other party does not use high power or other effects. What kind of powerful force can there be in the bridge world? We were beaten to pieces tens of thousands of years ago, and eventually even the civilization of the previous generation was destroyed. Hey, don't you understand? We are not inviting local influential people from the bridge world, but representatives from other galaxies. This is the original mission of creating the bridge world. It's from other galaxies? I've never seen life from other galaxies in my life. Please tell me when he will show up, so I can go see him. Come on, you can't see such a rare foreign guest coming at such a difficult time for us. The nobles above are not protecting him to the death, trying to win even alien alliance partners. It's good for us now. Damned world, alas. The Black God clone listened for a long time, and found that the first dialogue was more useful, but later it turned into what school your son will take this year, and my wife wants to buy expensive brand cosmetics. He was thinking deeply as he flew out of the barber shop. No wonder I felt that this power was a bit strange before. It turns out that he is really in trouble. After flying to a few more places, we returned to the foreign hotel just before night was about to pass and the artificial sun was about to rise. Snapped. Not long after I returned, the door opened. The person who entered the door was a lower-level domain master who had received the Black God's clone in the past few days. His face was a little ugly, and he glanced at the Black God Jia Yan coldly. Even though Jia Yan is a tiny piece of dust compared to his opponent's height of more than 300 kilometers, when a strong man really wants to target him, he can't miss it. It has been running stably for many years. It is comparable to the old version of the book-chasing artifact, and is used by old bookworms, Huan Yuan. Your Excellency Assassin, we sincerely make friends with you. If you want to go out next time, please inform us as much as possible. Of course you are sincere, but you don't want me to see the true situation of your power. This is a bit too much, so I went to see it in my own way. Kurakama's words made the two people's sincerity for sincerity argument seem false. There was an unspoken meaning in their eyes. This contact between the two parties has different purposes. In addition to forming an alliance, there are other ulterior purposes, so everything is left undisclosed. Okay, Mr. Assassin, let's sit down and talk. After a while, the other party lost his temper. He really didn't understand why such a little guy could be so arrogant when he felt that his strength was definitely not as good as that of supermasters like himself. Aren't you afraid that our Yin-Ao forces will kill you, a lonely messenger, in a rage and find a place to bury you? Anyway, they are not afraid of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. But it is impossible for them to do this before achieving their goal. This messenger from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is of great use. Our power is an aristocracy. I believe you will understand after going out last night. Our rule is now somewhat shaky. The Black God clone nodded. He really inquired about it. This simple fact of social structure can be understood just by looking at it casually. And even if I couldn't find out clearly yesterday, it's impossible for the other party to hide such a thing. He will naturally know about it in a few days. The problem is the internal contradictions within it. I probably understand that we are on the verge of collapse, but what is your purpose in trying to win over our Galaxy Chamber of Commerce? The energy of your Galaxy Chamber of Commerce in this world is not big, but it is not small. At least when ticket holders like us dare not take the lead, your energy it is still very strong. We need you to issue a statement, stand with our Yin-Ao forces, and do your best to trade in the other world and do some transactions with us in other world products. The other party obviously placed his status very low, and even the names of the other worlds followed the habits of the Milky Way. What's the benefit to our Galaxy Chamber of Commerce? Having said this, the person on the other side sneered slightly, isn't there any benefit? Don't treat us as fools. Your Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has developed so well. Why did you come to cooperate with us? You must have something to ask for, right? Why don't you, Lord Assassin, say it out loud? If possible, we are willing to help you with this. Black God Jia Yan couldn't help but shake his head. Yes, no one is a fool. Just as I can see that the other party wants something from me, the other party can also obviously feel it. When the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce comes to the door for no reason to form an alliance, there must be some need. Bye you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3343. But he still didn't want to say anything about the need for star cores. Because this matter is a core secret, once it is revealed, if someone gets stuck, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce will really have to do something to exchange benefits with the other party. It's like this. Our Chamber of Commerce has a unique way of cultivation. Now we need some relatively high-end resources. I heard that resources like yours are relatively abundant in your galaxy, so I came over to look for them. In fact, it's best if your force is willing to take action. Yes, but if I don't want to, I can only find my own trading partner. Oh? There are many in our galaxy. Could it be that you have forgotten that you are our honored guest? How can you leave to make deals with others without your host's consent? The Black God clone was speechless for a moment. That's right, he used someone else's passage to come to this galaxy, he also used the wormhole, and he was given a lot of pomp and circumstance. If he abandoned the other party and went to trade with others, wouldn't he be slapped in the face? But he was not afraid at all. Haha, so I have said it. I have to take this matter step by step. Your influence is naturally my number one trading partner. Besides, I now know that both you and I have something to ask for. If it is possible, I will also, if I want to save myself the trouble, it's best to do a deal with you, and get it right in one step. Then let's go. Let's go to the conference hall outside to chat with nobles from all walks of life. But Mr. Assassin, you have to be prepared. You are alone. What you will face next are experts in various fields. Let's talk about it? Well, don't blame me. Happy to accompany you. Black God Jia Yan stood up straight. It's not that he's knowledgeable. But after these few days of contact, he discovered that there is a huge gap between the two sides in terms of technology and humanities. Although he is not that professional, he can definitely pretend to be cool in front of unfamiliar groups who don't understand him. After all, he is a person who has the knowledge and experience of the real body, and has a lot of knowledge, superficial knowledge. To sum up in one sentence, pretending to be a ghost. If we enter into a deeper field and the two parties cannot communicate, then let me say one more thing, the customs in galaxies are different and cannot be generalized. Are you just pretending? The days that followed were similar to what the Black God clone had predicted. He entered the hierarchy of the opponent's noble council, and started a quarrel with many Yin-Ao forces. No, it should be said that many nobles of the Yin-Ao Empire now. It's hard to say that we are separated by more than 100 million light-years with just two hands. Do you know the concept of more than 100 million light-years? The reason why we can communicate now is because of the power of brain waves we use, otherwise it would be a chicken and duck talk. Isn't it normal for the local customs to be different? What you said is so profound. I have never lived in your empire, so how can I understand it? This trick has been used all over the world, and it has really fooled many people with strong professional knowledge in the entire Yin-Ao Empire by relying on their nonsense and half-truths and half-false knowledge. In the end, he started talking about it, talking about the pros and cons, and won a lot of alliance benefits. At the same time, I also understood why this Yin-Ao force wanted to win allies from the outside. He even went to the other world to form an alliance with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, which he had never had in-depth contact with before. It's because they don't have a choice. Even though the Yin-Ao forces are already quite powerful now, this is what they will be like after they weaken. There used to be masters above the domain lord level, but that master died more than 10,000 years ago, and his descendants went their own way, overthrowing the ideal country once established by their elders and transforming it into a feudal system dominated by aristocrats. Treat your family as the long-lasting ruler of this area. It was okay at first. After all, The national strength and reserves of strong men were still there, and there was still money to rest on. But more than 10,000 years have passed, and the empire has been deteriorating. There used to be dozens of lower-level domain lords, and the reserve of supermasters here has become less than 10. In addition, the use of the feudal system has caused extreme dissatisfaction from the surrounding forces, so there is no serious ally at all. Moreover, it rained all night when the house was leaking. Recently, many people in the country were instigated by external forces and launched actions to overthrow the aristocratic rule. It can be said that it was troubled internally and externally, and there were many ups and downs. So they have no choice. They can't even find an ally in this galaxy, so why can't they find one in the other world? And the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce meets their requirements very well. There are huge economic benefits, and there are even gimmicks, such as helping that ticket holder in their country to gain more opportunities. During the negotiation process, Black God Jia Yan guarded several bottom lines. First of all, he couldn't really sell the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. This galaxy didn't look like a simple place. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce was just like the rest of the world. It was so stupid to rush into this world. Will do so. Therefore, he held a negative attitude towards this point. The other party asked the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce to send strong men to stay here several times, but he refused sternly. Secondly, there is the economic issue. The two sides can have economic exchanges and even be close, because no matter from which point of view, it is beneficial to both sides, but it must be fair and just. The next thing he cares about the most is that Black God, as an ambassador-like person, has asked for a permanent spot. Now that his strength is not favored, there is a high probability that no powerful person in the world will think of letting him help in the war. However, there are still some variables in the process of getting this quota, that is, he wants a position with a little freedom, but the other party is unwilling to give it. To put it bluntly, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has a person here, and the other party is afraid that this person's purpose is not pure. However, under the sharp tongue of the Black God clone, this condition was reluctantly agreed to under additional circumstances, such as relevant rigid requirements such as being able to disappear for a maximum of 1 month. For a month, he just wanted to leave without using wormholes and other equipment. Where could he go in the vast sea of stars? Of course. After the two parties roughly discussed the issue, met with representatives of several top noble families in the Yin-Ao power, and discussed some more detailed details behind closed doors, the Black God clone got the permission to go out. The time is only 1 month at most. If the time limit is exceeded, he will be judged as a liar and arrested within the All-Bank AO forces, and the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce will also be permanently blacklisted. Call. Within the starry sky, a figure was driving a relatively advanced machine through the space. This aircraft is quite fast, but, apart from using wormholes to fly, haven't they made use of subspace gravity and other methods? They actually rely on this kind of flying rocker when going out. The Black God clone was riding in an aircraft specially customized for him, and felt weird. The area where Yin-Ao forces are located, and even the entire galaxy, don't seem to pay much attention to subspace. Don't say they don't understand subspace. If they didn't understand it, it would be impossible to build a passage to the other world. Even the Black God was amazed by the design. How could he not understand the subspace? It can only be said that their reliance on wormholes is extremely serious. Such a difference in physical laws has led to a different emphasis on us and them. Therefore, they gave me this aircraft because they were sure that I would fly to death in a month. Can't fly out of the nearby area. A smile appeared on his face. This Yin-Ao force person is also funny. They all know that President Jia Yan of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is a person with subspace power. They have never thought that the assassin who came to talk this time is also a person with subspace power. People. But that's right. Even if you have subdimensional abilities, as long as they are not at the earth-shattering level, where can you go in 1 month? Arriving at a place where stars gather, the locals call this place the second largest city, not far from the political center city where the Black God's clone flew out. Parking the aircraft in the city, he said he was going to the city to inspect the business environment, but he ended up in the corner of the city. Buzz. The subspace split open, and the Black God clone got into it without hesitation. The Uneo Force, as a force that had produced top supermasters, once stood in the entire galaxy, and the territory it ruled was extremely vast. The problem of slow update of new chapters has finally been solved with an app that can change sources. Download the Spuin Source Change app here and view the latest chapters of this book on multiple sites at the same time. Xiao He succeeds and fails. Xiao He. Today's Yin-Ao forces are trapped by the vastness of the territory under their rule, which has led to the decline of national power. After the 4 places are self-respecting, their management is completely out of touch. Countless star thieves and civil tyrants are standing everywhere. And in the starry sky buffer zone between the 2 powerful powers, there is such a star thief force. Their scope of influence is extremely vast, reaching between more than 20 star systems. If they travel far away, they can even attack areas on the order of 100 stars. The 2 giants were extremely nervous in their confrontation, and they did not dare to take action against the star thief force, which made them gradually grow bigger. On this day, a foreigner came to the star thieves' force. But no one noticed his arrival. There is such an existence only 30 light-years away from the political center. I don't even believe that this Yin-Ao force is immortal. Black God Jia Yan felt that the situation of the Uneo forces was very similar to that of the dynasty. The only difference was that the dynasty had entered its final stage, and several forces within the country were fighting to the death. Uneo's forces just haven't entered that step, but they have already been divided internally. 30 light-years away, it took him less than 10 days to get there. Because he is Jia Yan's clone, he also holds a valuable treasure that travels through the subspace. What a small creature! Which department are you in? Just when he thought that his actions would not be noticed by anyone, someone revealed his identity. Looking back, he turned out to be a detection-type galaxy-level master. The Black God clone never thought about hiding his body, so he didn't use his hiding ability, so it was natural for him to be seen. Because of this, the other party did not think that this was an external enemy, but just lamented what happened to their own power. Even such a little thing was included in the power. Now they are in a super war fortress. This fortress has been transformed into a mess and changed beyond recognition, but it can still be seen that it was formerly an Earth-like planet no less than the Earth, but now it has become a giant war weapon. Hello, I would like to meet with the senior officials of your force. Would you be lucky enough to do it for me? Huh? You are not part of our power. The other party's expression suddenly changed, and then he became fierce. He rushed forward, intending to capture the foreigner, the Black God clone, on the spot. Capturing an outsider must be a great achievement. He has never thought about how this tiny creature sneaked in secretly. Maybe it relied on its tiny figure? In short, I didn't feel that the small creature had any strength. The credit for having it delivered to his door is like picking it up for him. Oh, there's no point in being polite to you, right? You're a star thief, too. The Black God clone sighed, and then slowly raised his hand, and a line of blue light instantly exceeded the size of the opponent's body. The next second, the creature, which was about 100 kilometers long, was completely trapped by the blue ball of light, unable to move. He was stunned. Okay, go talk to the higher UPS of your family. I won't hurt you. Yes. With such a move, how could the other party not know that the tiny creature in front of him was something he couldn't afford to offend? The Black God clone dispersed the energy of the aperture. The other party staggered away. He is not worried that this guy will not report. Whether he goes to complain or actually communicates with the other party's boss, in short, there is such a strong man inside the war fortress, and they need to pay attention to it. It didn't take long for a large group of strong men to come from all directions. Among this group of strong men, there was one whose strength was obviously stronger than the others. Upon closer inspection, he actually reached the level of a senior domain lord. You must know that this is just a star thief force. It can be seen that the overall strength of the galaxy area where Yin Ao's power is located is definitely good. But the senior domain master is just like that. The Black God clone is the most comprehensive and unique clone under Jia Yan, and he is not afraid at all. Even the ape clone has fought fiercely with the lower level of the domain lord. How could such an older clone be so far behind? Doesn't exist at all. Little one. Where did you come from? The senior domain master level master made a loud noise, sounding like a giant from the other world, but his appearance was not that of a giant, but a toad-like reptile. As a high-ranking member of a powerful family, are you so unreasonable? Black God Jia Yan is very unaccustomed to dealing with rude people. Ha 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 ha, we are star thieves, can star thieves still be polite? However, your communication power is very strange. It is different from our power, no, from all the cultivation methods in our country. Are you from the outside? Come on, I'm a rough guy, and I welcome friends from far away. Let's sit down and chat. Toad felt the power of the Black God's clone, and immediately showed a meaningful smile, leading him to the far side of the war fortress. After all, it is a planet-level creation with a diameter of more than 10,000 kilometers, and there are many buildings inside. About 200 kilometers away, Toad led Jia Yan into a so-called main hall in the fortress, which was actually a simple earthen room. Sit down, come here, serve some tea. Toad ordered, and then several masters including the Black God clone were left in the room. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3344. I wonder where you are from. Are you negotiating with us to kill the Yin Ao official? Oh. The Black God clone shook his eyebrows, knowing that the other party had misunderstood. The wall fell and everyone pushed. The Yin Ao forces have now entered an era of terminal illness. Naturally, there are countless forces or people with various motives who want to make them fall immediately, so that you can get a piece of the action. Naturally, many people want to win over such a star thief gang that has taken root within Yin Ao's forces and become a force in their hands. That's right, otherwise a star thief organization within Yin Ao's forces, with no virtue and ability, could develop to its current scale. Aren't all star thieves supposed to be small scale? Haha. So He Shen just smiled slightly, nodded vaguely, and said, Yin Ao country is about to destroy itself, but your gang must have already had collaborators. I and the organization behind me, I won't get involved, I came to you today with other requirements. Any request? The Toad may seem rough, but there are subtleties within the roughness, otherwise it would be impossible to maintain such a star thief force. Your gang has been galloping in this starry sky for a long time, right? I wonder how many life stars you have destroyed. How much inventory do you have in hand? This is what I want now. Life star. The Toad's eyes were fixed on the incomparably tiny Black God clone. For a moment, there was a sense of oppression at the level of a senior domain lord, wanting to test the foundation of this tiny creature. But he looked back with fear, because under this kind of oppression, the small creature remained unmoved, as if his own strength was lost in the sea. He knew what this meant. As a star thief, he can be ruthless when he is ruthless, but when he is intimidated, he also knows how to assess the situation. Things like life stars are completely useless to us. We have destroyed more than 20 life stars before, and some of them were made into war tools by us, like this war fortress under our feet. There are still 7 or 8 left. The quality is not bad, but it has been traded to other parties. However, the supervision of the Yin-Ao forces has gradually become stricter, and those planets have gradually become unable to be transferred out. After all, for such a big thing, we have gradually accumulated 5 in our hands. Are you want it? Let me tell you in advance that we can sell these planets, but they are useless anyway, but you have to rely on yourself for transportation and other issues. Sure enough there is. The Black God clone was slightly moved, and then said calmly, I will handle the transportation myself, but our requirements are very high, and ordinary life stars are not required. I wonder if all your life stars still have star cores, and is there a higher level? High-level star core? It turns out that this is what you want, hee, this thing is worth hard currency wherever you throw it. As for those 5, there were 3 star cores in the past, but we have already taken them out ourselves. Used everywhere. Unexpected, but also reasonable. The Black God clone was not discouraged. Star cores, as the other party said, are hard currency and can be used in a wide range of applications. The same is true even in this galaxy. No one can resist dealing with it. The star core is also much smaller in comparison, so there is no reason for a being like the Star Thief not to remove it as soon as possible. Well, forget it if you don't have it, but I can place an order. If you have any plans to fight in the near future, I will directly invest in purchasing the star core. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad, it will be calculated at half the market price. The toad moved slowly, as if he was very disdainful. Your Excellency, forget it. To tell you the truth, the pirate forces on this planet have already been included in the key targets for suppression. How can there be such an easy battle? It's too late for us to defend, so we have to work for you. Let alone half the time. Even if the price is doubled, we won't like it. Life is important. That's the truth in a nutshell. Moreover, the star core is so popular. If they succeed again, it will be doubled, let alone half the price. Now in many aspects, there will definitely be buyers within the self-respecting Yin-Ao forces. The Black God clone quickly saw this, and then thought about these joints. How could a being like Star Thief be afraid of death? What they are afraid of is not having enough benefits. Okay, I'll offer 5 times. 5 times the market price, but I want you to hurry up. Don't ask for more from me. If you ask for just one more point, I'll turn around and leave. I think other Star Thief groups will also be willing to accept me. The asking price. 5 times. Hiss. The big toad's eyes widened. Who in this galaxy is so arrogant? He was willing to pay 5 times the price, but he said that even if it were given to serious forces, they would relocate the population of their own living planet and then leave the planet to Jiayan, they would be willing to do it. 5 times the price has exceeded the entire price line of the average planet. There is no proof for what you say. Please leave your name and pay part of the deposit, and we will believe what you say. Without saying a word, the Black God clone waved his hand, and a pile of matter poured out of the subspace. Here is the currency crystal of the Yin-Ao force. Is it enough? If not, I can get it for you. Enough? Are you the force from the other world? Toad is not a fool. When the Black God Jiayan showed his financial resources and summoned so many crystal substances, and the important thing was that the crystal substances were marked with the official emblem of the Yin-Ao force, he judged his identity. The official crystal currency of the Yin-Ao force, as the top currency, has always been a very popular item in the market, and its value has even increased by 10% or 20% in border areas, because the Yin-Ao force uses a currency asymmetry system. Although all forces have unified their currencies. However, due to the restrictions of the interstellar era, each region has its own right to mint coins, but how can local currencies be compared with the central currency? Moreover, this crystal is the highest grade exclusive to nobles, and you can earn around 10% if you resell it. Naturally, he immediately thought of the news about the visitors from the other world that had been making a lot of noise recently. Oh? Do you know me? In that case, I won't hide it. I am from other galaxy forces in the other world, so you don't have to worry. We are willing to trade sincerely, but you'd better keep this matter confidential. Our force does not want other Yin-Ao forces to know that I am acquiring star cores outside for the time being. The toad seemed to have not heard what Black God Jia Yan said, and just answered and asked, "Aren't you afraid that I will swallow your deposit?" Speaking of this, Black God Jia Yan showed a strange smile. This smile made Toad's dignified and experienced Domain Lord level masters shiver. If you think you can pack up and run away, you can try. Maybe this force is beyond our reach and may not be able to find you, but if we accidentally find you. After saying this, the strange aura in Black God Jia Yan's eyes flashed away. But the more he said this, the more it made Toad feel extremely cold. Their forces know more about the other world, and the place they call the Bridge World is filled with endless dangers. Anyone who wants to enter the Bridge World and gain benefits can sign up, but fewer and fewer people have signed up in recent years, because their silver power has started an open and covered battle with the power of another ticket holder in the other world. The casualties were huge. This Toad was the one who wanted to enter. After learning about the dangers of the Bridge World, he voluntarily quit. As for the forces that can develop and grow in this world, behind this tiny creature, there must be at least a master of the lower level of Domain Lord. Although they did not believe that a lower level existence of a territory lord would come to the Yin-Ao forces to take risks for a trivial matter of breach of contract, but what if it happened? Haha, although we star thieves are criticized by everyone, we still have our own credibility. Otherwise, how can we travel in the world? Don't worry, we can fulfill your request. The Toad smiled awkwardly. That's good. The two parties discussed the time and location. After leaving a few signing documents, Black God Jia Yan turned around, retreated towards the subspace, and quickly disappeared into the subspace. Boss, this little thing is very cool. Why don't we kill him? If we kill these crystals, we will become a headless thing. A subordinate next to him looked at the place where the Black God clone left, somewhat confused. In the past, their star thief force also relied on others to choose their food. Guys like this would have been swallowed up in one gulp, so how could they have been in vain with him for so long? Although this person is small, the energy behind him must not be underestimated. Forget it, he wants the star core, right? 5 times the money is enough for us, so what if we make a deal with him? Hey guys, listen to the order. Turning to the flower star 70 light-years away, flowers are blooming on that planet, and the sea of flowers is everywhere. It must be a planet with a high-level star core. Woohoo! Let's go! A group of star thieves roared and jumped to their feet. Not long after, this huge war fortress planet was activated. In the surrounding starry sky, there are many similar war fortresses activated together, heading towards the destination. Star thieves are star thieves. They are extremely mobile and all their belongings are on the war fortress planet. This is why they are extremely difficult to catch. In the starry sky behind him, a human face appeared in the twisted subspace. Black God Jia Yan looked at their departing figures quietly and exhaled. Luckily they made the right choice, otherwise I would have had to do it on the spot. He doesn't really think that he can still find the other party after being escaped by these star thieves. After all, this is a completely unfamiliar galaxy. Even in the Milky Way, he can't guarantee that he can accurately find a group of star thieves in the vast sea of stars, let alone an unfamiliar place. Here. So he is observing the other party's actions, and if there is anything wrong, he will take action himself. His money is not that easy to get. But the other party has now taken action, presumably heading towards the target. He will no longer catch up, otherwise he will waste too much time. It's just a gamble. If you escape halfway, it's just some goods for the first transaction. The loss is not exaggerated. The crystal came from the House of Nobles of the Uneo Force. As early as the previous discussion, they had tentatively conducted a small transaction with Jia Yan. Jia Yan also specified the common currency of the other force. Now it seems that the purchasing power is indeed good. There are still some crystals, and there is still time left. Let's find another power. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. He walked leisurely inside the subspace and gradually entered the depth of the subspace. How relaxing. The Black God clone once imagined when he would be able to move in the subspace like his real body, but he didn't expect that most of his dreams would come true now. The pendant he carries gives him an extra home to move freely in subspace. 100 kilometers away, his home is big enough. He has already been looking for items to build some buildings in this home. If guests come in the future, it will be enough to entertain guests. Even the real body can come up and settle down. Although the real body is 60 kilometers long, it is no longer suitable for this pendant. The real body won't steal it from me, right? Well, probably not. This thing won't help him much. The Black God clone thought about it and felt that his worries were unfounded. This pendant helped accelerate the opening and stability of his created world. If the real body was not a fool, he would know how to make optimal use of it. Of course, this thought will be transmitted to the real body when the two parties meet. The two people are the same person, so the real body will not be angry. It is the existence of two bodies with one heart. It is only because this little mental power is on the side of the clone that it has its own scruples. It can return to the real body anytime and anywhere, so it is not a rebellion at all. Go to hell. Things were not going so well on the other end. 3 days later, when the Black God clone found another Star Thief force that was relatively nearby, but this force was not as powerful as Toad. After explaining its purpose, the other party became furious. A creature holding an umbrella poked the umbrella out. Boom. The earth is destroyed. Boss, this is our home, why do you poke holes in it? A group of younger brothers around him sighed. This boss has a bad temper. But that incomparably small creature must have died together, otherwise it wouldn't be a miracle if they poked such a big hole and didn't feel the others leaving breath. Tisk tisk, it is indeed very strong. Unfortunately, this strength is not enough for me. At this moment, a chuckle came from the ear of the umbrella creature. He was shocked and turned his head to look. After seeing the speaker clearly, his mood quickly sank to the bottom. Because the speaker was the creature that was about to be stabbed to death by his umbrella just now, the Black God Jia Yan. The strength of the umbrella creature is about the same as that of the Territory Lord level. Of course, the name for the Territory Lord level in this galaxy is definitely different from that in the Milky Way. I am just used to using this name, so I treat it that way. A Domain Lord level all-out attack was unable to cause the death of this tiny life form. It even seemed like there was no injury at all. What, are you? People in this galaxy don't seem to be proficient in subspace talents or gravitational wave talents at all, or they rarely see subspace talents at all, so they are a little frightened by the Black God's elusiveness.